This is Kelly Wentworth from Survivor San Juan del Sur, and you're about to listen to one of my favorite sources for all things Survivor. This is Survivor Talk with D&D. So find your flint, grab a bag of rice, and all your fishing gear, and let the bartering begin. Take it away, D&D.
Hello, welcome to the show. I'm Dwayne.
And I'm David.
And we're just two best friends talking about the show we love, Survivor. Tonight, we have a very, very, very special guest. We have TroyZan from Survivor One World. Hello, TroyZan.
That's classic. Did you take that off of my show? Because, I did yell like that.
No, I thought that was Dwayne yelling.
Yeah. That's actually the original Tarzan.
Yeah, I like that. Johnny Weissmuller. I love it.
So I just put a couple of lion roars at the front end and back end of it. So how you doing, man? So glad to have you on the show.
I'm good. It's nice to see you guys' face again. I haven't seen you since, I guess,
end of August.
End of August, yeah. So, yeah, it's like I'm actually not in my home. I had a job today, so I'm up in Jupiter, Florida, which is like a couple hours north of Miami, doing a golf digest job. So,
what is funny is, I'm a worship pastor at my church, and so I thought, hey, I'll go see TroyZan's website, right? So I click on it, and I got this big monitor, in my office, and up comes this beautiful young woman. And I went, oops. I better close that before someone walks by and asks me what I'm doing.
Well, they have their swimsuit on. It's like so.
Oh yeah, I know, but
but I can see
some kid's mom walks by. She goes, I saw the worship pastor.
Pastor Dwayne is not who he says he is.
You have the job that like every teenage boy dreams of. You're the photographer. You get to do all kinds of great stuff. So, pretty cool job for you. But it wasn't as fun as Survivor, was it?
No, it wasn't even close. Survivor's at the top. To me, it's like that's like the top adventure that I've done so far in my life. It's like I'm one of these guys who probably thinks about it every day. It's like I think about what happened on my island. I think about my cast. I picture the little camp that we had. There was a little island off of our island that we used to swim out to. It was like 25 yards out. So I think of that. I think of it all the time. I mean, at some point, and I've talked to Jonas from my season about it. It's like, we got to go back and just stand there one day again and just, see our island once again, or my island.
Well, yeah, it's your island. Well, I know David and I tried to get you back on Second Chances, man. We tried.
Every day,
Every day, man.
I hear that so much. I appreciate it. I hear that more than anything else. I've never heard anybody say I didn't vote for you. So I'm not sure.
Well,
I'm not sure what happened. It's like I just talked to Andrew Savage yesterday, and he's like, "Oh man," he goes, "I was in the audience." He goes, "I was just stunned." He goes, "For sure." He goes, he calls me TroyZan, and he goes, TroyZan. He goes, "I thought for sure I'd see you on that bus." I said, well, when I saw you, it's just almost like, because I think of, Andrew as like this old school player, and all the old school guys to me are kind of legendary in a sense, like the first 10 seasons, I've got high admiration for anybody that played in those seasons. And it was great talking to him, but it was nice to hear him say you're going to play. Don't just, it took me, 15 years or however long it took him to get back on. Yeah. And he goes, I'm almost sure that you're going to play again. So, I hope so. So, fingers are crossed.
That's right. All right, so tonight we got TroyZan Talk. We're going to keep him through the recap. Then we have listener feedback, Pondering Ponderosa, our new segment where we talk about the Ponderosa videos, some iTunes reviews, no Mikko's challenge tonight because Mikko's under the weather. And then, of course, the D&D Survivor Challenge results, which I am this close to passing up, David. Many are watching and chatting together at stwdd.com/live. Enjoy yourselves. If you're watching, use hashtag STWDD on Twitter to get your thoughts on the air during the show. If you have a question for TroyZan, that'd be a great way to do it, and we will answer them. Also, you can post a comment on the YouTube video, and I'll see that as well. Quick program note, next week is Thanksgiving, in case you didn't know, and we will be holding off our recording for episodes 10 and 11 to the Sunday night. Our recap, discussion, and feedback show will be live on Sunday night, November 29th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And so feedback deadline will be Sunday at 5 Eastern Time. Also, Colton has joined the D&D website. What, David? Colton has. Colton is now writing Colton's Countdown from the Couch. And he has ranked, and he ranked his least favorite to his favorite, and then he ranked most likely to go next week to least likely to go next week.
Really?
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. It's really good read. I want to add a program note that this Sunday we're doing the second half of the Durham Warrior Survival Challenge cast reunion. We tried to do it in one night about a month or so ago, and it took all night, and we only got halfway through. So we're going to do the second half. It's kind of like an open house, open podcast. We're going to start around 7 o'clock Eastern Time, and whoever's available is going to come in. We're going to talk and chat until the night gets late. So we'll just go from there. But that's this Sunday at 7 o'clock.
All night long.
Oh, okay. Oh, this guy's singing now. I guess I better say hi to Colton if he's listening in on this stuff. You know, I mean, he
might be.
He is my original castmate. You know,
that's right.
Crazy Colton.
Yeah. All right, so TroyZan, David, why don't you interact with TroyZan, and I'll just kind of watch and listen and interact as I see fit. So, ask him anything. Ask him anything.
I do want to ask him, and I gave him a warning about this. I told him I heard him on Survivor Oz a while back, and actually it was I guess 2 weeks ago, and he got in a good conversation with Ben about pregame alliances. And I was wondering if you would restate some of that. What your thoughts were on pregame alliances and how dangerous it could be, because you had a good talk about that. Do you remember that?
Well, yeah. I mean, how dangerous they can be as far as like when you're out there and like if people find out about your alliances. Well,
whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, yeah.
The thing is, it's like whether it's good or bad, it's kind of like you have to participate in a sense. It's like if once casting calls you, which is probably 3 months out, like maybe they start calling you in March, and you know you're going to go out in June if you're going to play. You know, once that starts to happen and they fly people to Los Angeles and start taking, the psychological tests and going through all the stuff that we do, we start to see each other. And then, survivors, we're a small community. We know, it's almost automatic, like, okay, rumor has it that, TroyZan's going back, and I saw Kimmy and Savage is rumored to be, start hearing all these names. So then you like hear people that like maybe you've met, at a charity event, or that you've just met through, being a survivor. And so they start to call you, just out of the blue, or someone will like tweet to you in a weird way, or someone will become your friend on Facebook. All of a sudden it's like, so you know that they want to reach out, because most people make a pregame alliance not so much to go against someone, like say like, we're going to align ourselves so that we take out Abby Maria or whatever. I mean, it's more like I want to get in an alliance so that I feel safe.
Right.
No one's calling you to say like, oh, I heard that, Terry Dietz wants you out, so, you better align with me. The talks that I have are more like, hey, bro, how's it going? I can't believe, or can you believe we're getting called again? This is going to be great, it's like, and more get a sense of like, what kind of person are you, Yeah. And so that's what those were my conversations. What kind of person? I never said you're my number one guy or you're my number whatever. Because I can see
you not want to miss the boat though. If everybody's getting in a group, you want to be included.
You don't want to not answer, because then they're like, well, he's got his own plans then. So it's like it's very difficult. Like I don't like it. I don't like pregame alliances because I don't think it has anything to do with Survivor. Because the audience doesn't get to see any pregame stuff. They just watch the show and think that we're just out there all on an equal playing ground, and we're not. It's not equal. If there's an alliance that's being made outside of Survivor, and it's a true alliance, you don't tell me that that's not. I mean, that's not fair in a sense to the rest of the people playing. If 5 people are already aligned before the game even starts, and they're truly aligned, what chance do the other players have if they know that those people are going to stick together 100%? It's like, I personally don't like it, but it's like, guess what? You know, if you're going to play a second time or a third time or an all-star version or a returner, you better play. Otherwise, you're out. So to me, now it's become Survivor. You start to play the second the casting calls you again, and you better play in a way however you want. You know, answer the phone call or not. You know, to me, I'm like, I'm going to answer the phone calls, and you know, I'll make a few calls to myself just to kind of get a sense of like, how are you? What are you like? What are your plans when you see each other? And I'm thinking, and I always say, listen, you guys, I don't even know if I'm going to be on the same tribe as you in the first whatever days. Will I see at the merge? I have no idea. And I've talked to past survivors who've played, who's talked about pre-alliances and said, some say, oh, they don't work worth a crap. I never made one. It's like, and they don't work. Others say you got to do it, otherwise, you know, you're out. So, you know, it's one of those things. Like when I've been called for Fans versus Favorites 2. And, you know, magically people just started to call me and Facebook me. And then I got called for Blood versus Water, the first one. And on that one, you know, it was automatic. I mean, Colton called me instantaneously, you know. He's from my same season.
Right,
you know, Kat would call me and ask me, like, what's up? And other people started to call, you know, that said, like, oh, yeah, I went in with my sister and this and that. It's like, what do you think? I'm like, listen, I'm not going to strategize like we are on the island because we're not even there yet. And I don't want to really waste a lot of my time and my brain on something that might not even matter. So it's kind of like, also, if you pregame and you really strategize a lot with, like, you know, this person, you know, number one, I'm strategizing with, and I get out there and say I strategize with 2 guys, and I didn't tell either one of them. One guy says, well, I talked to Troy. And he goes, really? You did? He never told me that you talked to him. It's like all of a sudden I become a liar, or I become suspicious. So then you have to deal with that, you know. And paranoia is huge out there. So it's one of those, like, you got to be a smart person about what you're saying, how you're talking, what you're doing. I mean, you know, I heard that Shane Powers had this major alliance going, and he talked about it, and it was all planned and set to go. And guess what? It didn't work.
Yeah, we had survivors that are friends of ours beyond the few that we talk about that would message us while they were going up and down the elevator and say, guess who I just saw? You know, it just, so throwing behind the scenes to Dwayne and I saying, hey, guess who just got out of the elevator and stuff. But listen to you talk about it. It's almost like a pre-season challenge itself that you're going through. Whether to take the call and jump into this alliance and, you know, making a decision in the middle of something else.
It's even like when you're out in Los Angeles, and, you know, here's the funny thing. Casting knows. We see each other in the hallways. I mean, they tell us not to talk. And, you know, you can't do this, you can't do that, you got to stay in your hotel room. And I'm like, listen, I passed Spencer in the hallway on the way to the doctor. I'm not, of course I'm going to wink at him and laugh, and he's going to start laughing, you know, and give you maybe a fist bump or whatever. And I ran in, and then I'm with Kimmy at the airport. We're going through the line, and she's like, what do you think? I said, this is crazy, right? I said, I remember you from, you know, freaking Africa or what, I mean, Australia. And it was, I didn't say, hey, you know, Kimmy, you want to make an alliance right now here in the airport? You know, you and me to the end, babe. I just was like, I was talking to her, and she was nice, and I talked about her season, and she talked about mine, and I'm like, you know what? Let's just be friendly. And if that, you know, rolls over to when we see each other on the island, then that's to my advantage. And that's, if you want to call that a pregame alliance or a pre-gaming, well, it's what it is, you know. I mean, I know other people I knew half this cast, you know, and I've talked to half this cast at some point in my life. So, but I never called myself a pre-gamer. I wasn't like this super strategy guy, and a lot of stuff gets made up. I mean, stuff was made up about me being in some, super Florida alliance where everyone from Florida and the East Coast were like, getting flown in by Brad Culpepper in his private jet and all this bull crap. It's like, I almost.
You did good. You did good.
I almost cussed. I get fired up about this stuff because that was just a complete lie made up, So it was bizarre. And the way I found out is from Chelsea, who was also being considered for second chances.
Right.
She was called and told that, I heard that TroyZan is in some super alliance that's being formed right now, and people are doing conference calls and they're having private meetings. I'm like, what? That's bizarre.
Well,
so
your secret's safe with us. Your secret's safe with us because the 12 people that listen are saying, "Hey, TroyZan didn't make any pregame alliances, so we don't have to worry about him at the next fan versus favorites or second chance or heroes and villains or whatever comes up."
Yeah. Well, and I heard Tyson that he made no pregame alliance stuff and just didn't deal with it, didn't worry about it.
Right.
And he won. So.
Yeah.
All right. So you. Let's say, I hate to press a needle or anything, like push a sore, but let's say you're on this season and you're dropped in with these other 20 people. We'll say it's 21 for right now. Who do you immediately look at and say, okay, I want to work with? Because you know these players as well as we do. We love these people. We love this game, so we know these 20 people. Who are you immediately picking out as your top 2 or 3 to try and?
I would have probably went to Kelly Wentworth for sure. I don't know her, but I had like an inside person kind of talk to me and say, listen, I think Kelly's like, plus Kelly's from my same state and her father's from an area where I grew up. So that was to me like an instant thing that we could talk about. We're from the same, I'm from Spokane, Washington, her dad, and I think she was raised in Eastern Washington, he was in some small town called Ephrata, Washington.
Yeah.
See,
that's like a little dig town, and I'm like, I know right where that is. My dad worked in Ridgeville, which is right next door, and it's one of these where I could have connected with her, and I felt like she was very savvy and smart in her first season, and it's stuff like that I feel like you can connect with right away, because you're not going to walk up to somebody and say and start to like, I think, strategize who we want to go home with. You want to talk about stuff that you have in common, and can I trust you as a person playing this game in hour one, because that's what you're looking for. You're looking in their eyes, and you're like looking at their movements. I need to pick somebody out quick because it happens really fast. I mean, people are scrambling instantaneously the second they hit the beach, because guess what? If you get left out of the alliance, you're on the out, and you'll never be looking back in a sense. So, yeah, I think I would have went to Kelly. I would have went to maybe the older guys like Savage. I think I would have went up to Savage because I felt like in his videos, I felt like everything he says was really heartfelt, that he really felt he just had to get back and play this game that he loved. And I think he plays, in a sense, more like me, where it's more than a game. Some people play it only as a game only. Mm-hmm. Some of us can't. It's too much of an adventure. It's too much of like a life experience.
Passion. Yeah.
Yeah, we get into it too much. It's become a way of life where some don't really care that much about Survivor in a sense. And I'm like, Survivor is huge to me. It's a big part of my life. Yeah. And I just don't go out there and say, it's like playing Monopoly,
Right.
That's Dwayne's game. Dwayne's the Monopoly expert. So.
Let me ask you this, because I've been seeing on Twitter, besides the obvious First John, who has inundated Twitter with "Please let me back on the show," I've started to notice some previous survivors saying, "Hey, if it happens again, will you vote for me?" Is there something? Is there something going on?
I've seen
even in our Facebook group. Yes.
Yes. Is there something going on, TroyZan? Do we need to be ready to vote for you again?
Believe me, if you did, I would say it right now.
Okay, I'm just checking because
I think that people. I think what has happened is that because this season is pretty popular. I don't know what the ratings are, but I think it's really doing well, and it's doing well in the Survivor community. As far, I mean, I think it's a great season so far. It's like, and I really, I love the way people are playing. I love the way that, you know, I love the photography in Cambodia. To me, it's awesome. It's very lush. It's like a jungle, and like, especially like this last episode where it's just pouring rain on. You really get the feeling that
that's why you
people
like
are really.
That's your climate.
Exactly. Suffering. I like to see. That's what, you know. I feel like Survivor in the beginning, you know, season 1 through season whatever, you could sense that they were really suffering. Like, this was not just some backyard game. This wasn't just some regular television show. You know, we're eating rats and we're sitting here in the frickin' rain for days, and I'm tired and I'm hungry, and you could feel that through their faces on the television. And it's kind of gone away from that in the past seasons. But this episode, this last one, I'm like, you can see it's raining and they're freaking cold. When it rains and there's no dry clothes, there's no dry place to go back to. And you can see when they got back to camp, every single thing was soaking wet. And it doesn't get dry. And even if the sun came out, it doesn't get dry for a couple of days.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, just imagine sitting in your wet clothes for 24 hours on your couch in something warm, in a warm place.
Right.
That would be uncomfortable as heck.
Yeah.
And so imagine you're outside and some wind starts to blow. I mean, you could tell these guys, you know, it was tough. I got all sidetracked. I don't know what we were
okay. We were talking about who you would align with, and it's funny you mentioned Kelly in part because of where she's from. And I always hark back to my 4 days of fun. But when we got to off the water in Durham, before you guys got in the game, I immediately made connections with 2 people. But as soon as I heard there was somebody else from Virginia, I wanted to find her. And I found her, and it was Wendy. And Wendy and I were inseparable after that. You know, we got fortunate enough to get on the second tribe. So that's neat that you pick her out for that reason. But you're right. There's an immediate connection. We were 3 hours apart, you know, and I just felt right away I could trust her. I mean, I don't know why, but I did. So it was kind of neat that you mentioned that for Kelly as well. Even though you don't know her, but you felt like from where she's from, it's somebody you could trust or get to know.
Right. Yeah, I felt that. And it's like, you know, the thing is, it's like it is tough in a sense to really judge somebody before you actually meet them, because we only know some people, and myself included. I know Cass only from the show. I've never met her live, you know. But other people, you know, like I've met. So, and I'm like, you know, I mean, I talked to Abby Maria during her season, and I'm like, you're nothing like what I'm seeing on television. So, you know, it's one of those things where I don't ever like to say, well, when people got bad edits, because people say what they say, and that's really what they do. There's no one's, you know, forcing you to say or be a certain way. So you didn't get a bad edit. You just didn't like your edit.
That's right.
You just weren't. You just can't look at yourself. You know. So you know, I said some stuff I'm not that proud of, but I know that's who I am, and I'm not saying I got a bad edit. I just, you know.
So did you tell Dan that whenever we were all at Dan's house? Did you tell him that? or did you just let him live in his bad edit?
I think TroyZan was half asleep that night.
That's right. Yeah. I was staying in the room next to you, and you were asleep quickly.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I think Dan did get, like, you know, he did kind of get the short end of a lot of things. I think Dan's a lot nicer and more. He's bigger heart than what they probably showed, but in a sense, like, but the thing is, Dan also has a side of him that is very, you know,
aggressive.
He doesn't hold, he won't hold back what he, you know, he's not going to hold anything back.
Right.
And maybe he doesn't see that part of himself, like, you know, it's just not going to hold back. It's like, but Survivor editors will take that and they'll run with it. Right. So, you know, you have to I kind of knew that going out. I mean, maybe that's because I've been in and around kind of television, photography, and that kind of business before, so I know I've been in front of a camera before, and I knew, like, these guys, I know how editing goes in a sense, and I could sense, you know, when they were asking me questions, what they wanted out of me. I'm like, you're not going to get that answer. Because, but other people are like, yeah, I'll answer. What the heck? What the F? Blah, blah, blah. You know, and this guy, he's a jerk. And that guy, you know, so, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, I always say, you are who you are. You can't stop being who you are, and you can get edited bad. But if you say something in the beginning of the season that is shocking or wow, then they're going to take that person, and that's who you are for the rest of the game.
Right.
You're not going to go from being like a funny guy to a jerk. You're going to stay a funny guy, or vice versa.
Right.
You're not going to be a villain and then turn into a hero. They don't really do it that way.
Right.
Maybe in rare cases.
Right.
I mean,
as much as I like to talk about the 10 that have already gone, let's talk about the 10 that are still here. So you've already obviously watched last night's episode.
Right.
Were you surprised that Wigglesworth was voted out? Okay, spoiler alert for those that haven't seen it yet. Wigglesworth.
Yeah, no, I kind of was, because I always felt that I didn't really see a lot of her. I didn't really hear a lot of her. So I thought, oh, well, she's one of these, see a lot of her towards the end of the, of the season. So I'm thinking, I just felt like she's still in a good place, this good alliance. I was a bit surprised that she got voted out. I mean, and plus the fact that most people are saying, oh yeah, she talks to everybody, she's nice, she's this, she's that. Like, it's kind of funny how you either you're too nice, you're too aggressive, you're too good at challenges. It's like one of those, if you're too much of one thing, it's like, they're gonna win. So it's like, I guess she was just like too nice to everybody, and everyone thought like if she gets to the end, that she's gonna get the money, because people right now, that's the main thing they start to think about. Who's gonna be sitting with me at the end? If it's those two guys, there's no way I'm going to win, so that person's got to go eventually, and then the next person goes, and then I'll be happy because this is who I want to sit with. I want to sit with the person who's done nothing, or that I can convince the jury that they've done nothing, or they're complete jerks, and they'll never get a vote. So I need to get to those people, and obviously at some point, we probably didn't see it this season, but Kelly was just too nice and knew everybody too well, and plus, I think people were like, oh, she's season 1. She's the legend season. Yeah. She's going to get a vote. She'll get the vote. Right. She's not going to get my vote, and we got to get rid of her now. Yeah.
Right.
That's the only thing I can think.
That, I think it's also partially because Fishback was the one that was kind of coordinating all of this, and Fishback has his eyes on Joe and Wigglesworth, and so I think their order was Joe and then Wigglesworth, because Wigglesworth is so close to Joe. So whenever Joe won the immunity challenge, the immunity necklace, then they just went to a Wigglesworth.
Right.
And I think Fishback kind of was the one that instigated that. So.
I think that's probably right. He's so worried about everybody. I mean, he's really worried about it. He's worried about everybody. So
did you see the secret scene where he's going up to Abby, and Abby's like, "What? You just need to calm down." What?
I didn't see that, but I can see that. I just just by watching him, I'm like, I laugh because people, in a sense, have asked me about this season, and they think, "What do you think? Are people changed? Are they different?" And I said, not really, because they want to be different, and they want this second chance of becoming a different person. But guess what? Stephen Fishback is Stephen Fishback, and Abby Maria is Abby Maria, and Spencer is Spencer, and Jeremy is Jeremy, and Kelly Wentworth is Kelly Wentworth, and guess what? Joe is Joe.
Yeah.
You can't change your personality. You can try to convince people that you're different, or that you've changed, or like some new person has arrived for the second chance, and that you're going to play different. You'll play a little bit different because you're playing with different people. But deep down inside, your personality and who you are is who you are, and that's who plays, not some facade or some, outside forces that, So it's like, I just think that Fishbach I think he's a nervous kind of guy anyway. He knows the game super well, and his mind is probably just going every which way, like who's with who, and trying to figure out these blocks and these sections and all this stuff. And he's in a sense, you can drive yourself crazy.
Right.
He's kind of doing that in a way. I mean, maybe he's doing all right. I think he's tied together with Jeremy too, though.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
So, he's probably, Jeremy's the calm. He's probably the guy who's like, dude, just relax
Yeah.
and quit being so paranoid, because
Right.
paranoia will drive people nutty.
He's making Jeremy look like he's got ice in his veins. I mean, the way he's going around. But I liked Steven has his blog and he gives fishies away every week and stuff. And he gave one to Jeremy this week for finding the idol. But I think Fishback deserves a fishy this week because we finally, in my opinion, got to see him play in a layered level, because it's always been about Joe. Ahab and Moby Dick. It's always about Joe. Get rid of Joe. It seems like he's so focused on Joe, but he layered out this week, and that to me. Wigglesworth was collateral damage, because by getting rid of somebody that he saw very close to Joe, he puts Joe in a unstable state of mind, and hopefully that can affect him in the next challenge. All they got to get him to do is lose the challenge. Whether he's got an idol or not, he'll have to play it. But if they can just break his confidence or break his game to make him lose the challenge, that's the first step. And if he won this one, then let's make this vote be something that can break his game. You got to break him down in some way. So I think it was really smart to do this. I mean, I don't know how far she would have gotten or won, but I just think it was a great move, and I love how it built up through the episode. It was mentioned in the reward challenge, and later when he talked to the three girls, and I thought it was a great move to get rid of Wigglesworth just to hurt Joe.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, if you get the sense that people are truly together, that there's like a number one and number two, then you really feel like, yeah, you got to break that up. You somehow have to, when one person doesn't have the other person, they act completely different. So
Right.
And I tried to say that on my season all the time. I knew who was number one and I knew who number two was, and it was like, I'm like, listen, this is it. This is who they are. No one would listen.
So you were kind of Sierra of your season. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know about that, but
Why won't everybody just play my game?
yeah, well, I didn't say that. Well, I have to give credit to Sierra that she actually, where she's at. I mean, what, you got nothing else to lose. It's like you need to really say the things that she's saying and kind of do what she did. I'm not sure what else she could do besides saying, listen, play to play. But the people that are on the top, they're of course going to act like they're listening, but they don't need to play.
Right.
If I'm solid with three, I don't need to break that up. I mean, common sense says, okay, yeah, we're all going for $1 million, but common sense says that if I can trust you, and I've trusted you for 20 however many days up till now, why am I going to just go over to Sierra and go, yeah, okay, I just want to play the game to stir things up just for stirring things up's sake? I wouldn't want to do it, but the way she's playing is the only way she can. That's very smart. I give her high fives for giving it a shot and saying, I'm not just going to sit here and watch every day go by, and I'm going to stir stuff up whatever way I can and talk to people however I can to stay in the game. And kind of so far, she's kind of survived a couple of tribal councils. So,
I'll tell you what.
Let's see,
Instead of us recapping the show, why don't we just go down the survivors and let's just talk about them? And while we're doing that, it'll come, we'll talk about the show.
Good, because I wanted to add to what we were just talking about. I didn't want to go into a deep recap right now. I think Survivor has a lot of timing and luck as well, and especially for Savage. He got lucky when they merged and saved him from the next challenge. But I think for Sierra, the timing is perfect for her to play this style because she's not one vote right now. She counts as three. And like Fishback said, I loved when he said, 3 in a tribe of 11 is not at the top. We are at the bottom. And Spencer's like, you think we're at the bottom? And Fishback's like, yeah, we're not. As three of us, we're strong, but we're not the dominant group. We're not the big number. But Sierra and her group of three are at a good point in this game where numbers count, and her 3 votes count. So she's in a good place to keep speaking up and keep speaking her mind. And I personally think it's going to come to a point where she gets. I think she's going to get voted out next week. I hate to say it with 2 episodes because she's so dangerous and strategic, and she's one of those that will keep flipping because the 3 girls are not locked into anybody. They went with the vote of whatever keeps them in the game this week. Next week they could go with Kimmy and Tasha and Keith and Joe and vote out Fishback. They are not locked to anybody. There we go with those blocks, whatever blocks fit together for that week. And Sierra and Wentworth and Abby are smart enough as a group to go with whichever group keeps them in the game another week.
Right.
So,
and that's what Fishback was trying to say to Jeremy and to Stephen, I'm sorry, and to Spencer, whenever Jeremy says, "You're wanting me to trust these three ladies," and Fishback was like, "No, I'm not asking you to trust them. I'm asking you to trust the position that they are in, and that is why we can trust them to do this, because they are in that position." So
at least they're in that position this week.
Exactly.
Like, correct.
Right.
But
because
the
position can change. Yeah, the position can change next week to where it's like, Abby Maria decides to do something on her own because she's like, this is in my best interest, and I'm not going to stay with being a target at the bottom. I'm breaking off and I'm making a move because, these two people said something to me or whatever.
Right.
This to me makes this season so good because it would have been so easy for those three guys to stay with Kimmy and Tasha and Keith and Joe and just knock off those three girls. But we don't have any idea what's going to happen next week. Are they going to go back to the three girls and say, hey, Wigglesworth was a big threat. We had to get rid of her. Now let's vote out the three girls. Or will the other people go to the three girls? It's wide open at this point.
Yeah.
And those three girls are just sitting in the shelter saying, who's coming to us next? And if nobody comes to them, they better go idol hunting or find something else because they're going to be in trouble. But that's what's so good about this season. You don't know who's going to flip that week after week. And for three people to flip, I mean, sometimes you get a cast and you get one flip that changed the vote. Now we got three people flipping, and now we got a vote. I love this twist that Fishback picked up in this challenge.
Man, what an advantage. It is incredible. Not only does he get to get rid of someone else's vote, he gets to take their vote. So he gets to vote twice and take another one away. That's like having 3 votes.
Yeah, it is 3 votes because if he gets to take one away and then get 2 for himself.
Oh yeah.
That's 3 votes pretty much, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
but it's like that's going to drive him even more crazy because he's going to start. Now his brain's like going to explode because he's like, who do I take away? And if I take that one, and I use these 2,
who does he trust?
And then these 2 people just told me this, like, I mean, oh my God! And then watch Jeremy break out an idol and cancel out.
Really. I like
they're together, so I don't think Jeremy has told Fishbach about an idol. I think they probably would have shown that if they did. So but I do feel that in some sense they're together because Jeremy does trust Fishbach, or at least he said it. Yeah.
He said it in a confessional, which to me means more than any other time you would say something's in a confessional.
Yeah.
So he said he trusts Stephen, and now with Savage gone, who was another person he trusts, to me he puts more trust in Stephen. Because Spencer came from the Takeo. So you trust Spencer, but at the same time, you keep Spencer at a distance because you know what he can do. But he definitely – but I love that this season nobody's telling anybody anything advantage-wise. I agree. I don't think Jeremy's told anybody. I don't think – Wentworth obviously didn't tell anybody. Her own people were shocked that she pulled the idol out. And then I don't think – Fishback's obviously not going to tell anybody about his advantage. He's going to save that. And he gets to save it till Final 5. If he makes it that far. Final 5, he can play that vote.
Now, see, I wonder if Jeremy's trust in Fishback is going to be his downfall, because Fishback is trying to win this thing, man, and he might take advantage of Jeremy's. I mean, Jeremy really trusting Fishback could be his downfall.
But at the same time, this week should have put everybody on high alert. Now, even if you were before, you've got to watch every conversation that goes on that you're not in.
Well, I guarantee those 4 that didn't know what was going on are on high alert.
Yeah, I can't wait to see them come back to camp.
Man.
It was a bigger blindside to them, in my opinion, than it was to Wigglesworth. She was blindsided, but those 4, to me, that was a bigger blindside.
I just don't think that Jeremy is that worried about Fishbach, even if he was to go to the final 3 with him or 2 or whatever. I still feel like Jeremy, in a sense, has enough to say to win, and I feel that, and I think that the people on the jury would be like, well, Fishbach, he strategized too much, he annoyed me, he did this, I'm not going to give my money. Or Jeremy is like, if you look at the people that kind of win sometimes, they're the more sound-minded, kind of even kill, nice person I want to give the money to.
Right, he's got a new baby on the way, and he's playing for Val.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So who's going to be Fishback's target if he can get Joe out, who will be his next target? Because Jeremy wants to be his JT. Steven doesn't want a JT. He's got to find an Abby and a Sierra or Keith to take to the end. He can't take Jeremy to the end. And I love that Sierra pointed that out on the reward. So who's his next target after Joe? It's got to be Jeremy.
What? I don't know about that. Really?
Well, I mean, at some point when Joe goes, you got to look at who's going to start winning challenges.
You mean who's his target after Joe's gone?
After Joe's gone, yeah.
Right.
Oh.
I mean, who? That's a lot of people he can take to the final, but you can't take Jeremy. Sierra made it plain and clear. And and when she was talking about Jeremy's a threat that you don't want to take him to the end because he wins. I mean, Steven's like, okay, she's a future jurist in his opinion. She's going to be on the jury, so you got to listen to some degree. He's got to get. And I think what Dwayne said, or what you just said, that Jeremy's going to play those idols and probably kill Steven's extra vote, and it's probably going to take Steven out of the game. So, but Jeremy wants to go with Steven. He wants to be his JT. Why not? If Fishback gets to the final, everybody's going to look at him as Tocantins Fishback. He did all this work, but who did he take with him? So I think, like you said, Jeremy's comfortable with Fishback. He trusts him. But at some point, Steven's got to turn on Jeremy. He can't take Jeremy to the final.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
I think Jeremy's trust of Fishback, if he doesn't get him first, is going to be his downfall.
Right.
So how about Spencer? How do we like Spencer, the way Spencer's playing this season?
I'll say that I like that he was on a losing situation. He was in a losing situation to begin with, but now to me he's sidestepping, but at the same time he's being included. I mean, for him to be included with Jeremy and Fishback was huge, in my opinion. For him, if he'd have been left out of that, because they needed his vote, but for him to be included in a major flip like that, I would say he's in a good position. Who does Jeremy
I think because Spencer right now, like, at least it seems like the way he's playing his game since the merge is like he does seem like he's being more of a person that sits back and listens and doesn't actually put out like, this is what my opinion is and maybe we should do this or that. He's more laying back watching. Like, if you even watch Jeremy, the way he listens to people, he just sits there and listens. He doesn't put any extra stuff into like what he wants to do or how he wants to do it. If it sounds like it's going to go his way, why say anything? So he'll just sit back, and that way he doesn't seem too strategic. I think Spencer's doing a little bit of that. He doesn't want to come out as like, I'm Mr. Strategist and I've got my own plan, because everyone has their own plan in a sense. They have their own idea how they're going to get to the end. But I think Spencer's like, I might just kind of lay a little low for the last. It seems like he's laying a little bit low, to me. For Spencer.
It also seems like if you go back several episodes, when he reached out to Jeremy and told him uncomfortable things that Spencer doesn't like to talk about, that has actually been good for him, because now he's tighter with Jeremy, because Jeremy was like, hey, he may not be such a bad guy. So him doing that has probably helped him.
Yeah. I want to add something about Spencer, but before we do, Gracie wants to say hi, because I don't know if you're going to be there, TroyZan. Gracie's coming with me in June. We're going to drive up for 2016 for the Dorm Warriors, because it's in June this year, and she's going to be a volunteer with me this year.
Okay, so it's going to be colder than June. Is it going to be colder in June?
Probably.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I know. Okay. But anyway, just one more thought on Spencer was, a few weeks ago, it looked like Spencer, Joe, and Keith were in kind of a flux mode where they could go with either group. And I believe it was Joe that made the decision, and then we saw Keith go to Jeremy and say, I'm with you guys too. But at that point, I would have thought for this move, it would have been Tasha or Kimmy that went with Jeremy and Fishback, but it was Spencer. And to me, that just adds to Spencer's resume that he's doing well, but like you said, by listening more and being a part of something. Instead of trying to push an agenda, he's listening to an agenda, and as long as it works in his favor, because like he said at the end of this episode, well, he admitted that he didn't know how this was going to work for his game, but as long as it keeps him in the game, he's still playing. Right. So, but I agree. I think he's playing a smarter. He's evolved into a position of listening now, instead of trying to push anything.
Yeah, sometimes during the game you have to kind of like say, I don't have really a lot of control here, and as long as it's not me, I'm just gonna kind of go along, and that at least I'll be in the game tomorrow,
Right.
and then from there I can I can step forward and if I need to do something different, but at least I'm still in the game, because I said that to myself a few times when I played. I'm like, someone made a suggestion. I'm like, I don't really agree with that, but it's not me. So, okay, as long as I'm in the game, still playing, I'll go along with that, even though it sounds weird or screwy.
So kind of like the first tribal council in One World, where after y'all won, you still went to tribal council.
Exactly. I'm like, you know what? It's not me, and I'm gonna vote that. I was gonna vote out Bill the next time he lost anyway. So I'm like, well, let's just might as well step it up 1 week.
Yeah.
What's the difference? And part of me was kind of like, because the producers kept going, we don't even know. We've never even done this before, so we're not even sure. This is like a first in Survivor history, and I'm thinking to myself, oh wow, first in Survivor history. This will be great, because
Yeah.
I'll make history.
Right.
But I knew I wasn't going home, so I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. So, and in a way, in my season, and even though it started out and it's been always said it was men versus women, it really never was. I mean, the men were never really together, not like the women. We weren't a tribe where, and it was really never men versus women. Maybe the very first challenge, that's it, where Courtney broke her wrist. Past that, the guys were all over the place. No one was ever together. So it's like one of those things where, you know what, hey, as long as it's not me, I'll go along with it. I didn't think it was going to happen, because everyone had to agree to it anyway. I'm thinking, there's no way that if I feel threatened that I'm going to say, yeah, I agree with that, and everyone agreed, and then it was like, okay. Jeff Probst was like, what? So it's something I'll probably get to laugh about 20 years from now. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm laughing about it now.
That's right. That's right.
Who do you think is going to, since we're talking about players, of the three girls, who I like to call the three amigas? I don't really like the new name that they were given, but who do you think of those three is going to come out in the best? How do you think those three are sitting?
Well, I think the thing is, Abby Maria, to me, is not a threat to anybody as far as making strategic moves, as far as being a real challenge threat that she's going to win, although she did pretty good in the challenge, this last one.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that Kelly and Sierra are more of a threat to everyone else, so they'll vote them out before they would vote Abby Maria out. So I think she'll stay longer, only because they come across as stronger players.
Right.
And whenever you're a stronger player, or in any aspect, whether it's physically or mentally, then somehow you're a threat, which it's not really the truth. But that's how people that play Survivor play it. It's like Joe is a big, challenge threat. So for some reason, Joe's going to win the whole thing. Like, really? I mean, that's kind of true. If he does win out, people are going to have to be like, well, the guy won out, and I guess I'm going to have to vote for you, as opposed to the other person that might be next to him be like, listen, I let Joe win. I didn't want to win. I wanted Joe to have a target on. That was my strategy, and I strategized like this. So why can't I win? It's like one of those things where people get mixed up with, like, physical challenge beast somehow is going to be the biggest threat to win the whole thing. When has that happened in Survivor? Tell me.
Right. Well, I mean, Mike Holloway.
Besides Mike, I was just going to say besides Mike.
Yeah.
Well, but he won more. I think he won not only because of his challenge, because he was a challenge beast. I mean, just like who there was with him. So I just kind of
Right. Well, that's one of the nice things about Survivor, though. It's not a one-spoke game. It's a three-spoke game.
Right.
So it's not just being able to outplay. It's also being able to outwit and outlast. So
right.
that just goes to your point. So
I think of those three, and I hate to talk about stuff by the edit. I've been hanging out with Andy Baker too long, but watching those three, Abby is obviously somebody you can take to the end and have a good chance of beating, whereas Sierra is being shown as the person that's constantly talking about making moves and trying to draw people in, and then Kelly Wentworth is being shown having conversations in small groups, but not really being overly loud or overly intrusive about plans or anything. And I wonder, I think the one that comes out of that group is the one that makes the first move against the group. Who's going to be the one to vote with one of these other blocks? At some point, those three, unless those three can make it to the end, which I don't think is possible, one of those three is going to have to step out and make a move.
The group in general will start to think like they're three together, and whenever someone's felt like they're together, guess what? They need to be broken up. So
right.
You're correct. Whoever makes the move out of that group and says, "I'm not with these girls. I don't know how you guys still think I am, and I'll prove it to you. What do you want me to do? I'm going to make this move this way." Then boom.
I could see Sierra doing that in a New York minute.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And see, I don't know if Kelly could do it because all they're talking about is how much of a threat she is. She hasn't won a challenge, and she did pull out an idol to show that she was sneaky, but at the same time, they're calling her a threat. Like Wigglesworth, they called her a threat this week. So they all want to grab Abby. Two people want to grab Abby, but otherwise, who's going to make a move out of that group? So it's going to be really fun to me, which is making this season so great to see what they're going to do.
Yeah. See, I'm interested to see what the four are going to do that were outside of the loop.
Yeah.
Are they going to band together, or are they going to separate and try to get in?
What four are we talking about now?
That would be Tasha, Keith, Kimmy, and Joe, because they were the ones that were out of the loop.
They were blindsided.
Right.
Yeah.
So do they go back to Spencer? Well, they would go back to Jeremy. Is who they would go back to. Do they go to Jeremy and go, okay, not sure why you did that, but we don't want to be, or do they go try to get the three girls to come with them?
I'm not sure if they would do that, to go to the three girls. I think the three girls are, in my mind, if I was playing, I'd still be very highly paranoid of the three girls. I just feel like,
because they are such a block.
Yeah, and it's just they would create too much paranoia for me, and the thing is, it's like, if you trust someone, then you don't trust them. Guess what? It's hard to go back to, I'm going to trust you now. Like, the trust thing doesn't go back and forth. I mean, it might look like it does, but the trust thing, if I don't trust somebody, I'm probably never going to really trust them that much. I should put it in percentages. No one ever trusts, or they shouldn't trust someone 100%. But say I trust somebody 70%. And they do something wrong, I'm never going to trust them again at 70% ever. Right. I'm going to trust them at a lower percentage for the rest of the game. You cannot change someone's mind in this game. It's the biggest thing I've learned. You cannot. It's the most difficult thing to do, is try to change someone's mind to do something different than what they want to do.
Yeah.
It's virtually impossible. When their mind is made up, I mean, it's like made up. If they say, I only trust you 20% and that's all I'll ever trust you, guess what? That's to the end.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be easiest for them to go back to Jeremy, like Dwayne said, because Jeremy has, I don't know if he did it on purpose, but at the tribal council when Jeremy said we're voting in blocks, I'm still not sure what that means, but we're voting in blocks. He can always point that back at Fishback. It was Fishback's idea. He's the one that threw this Wigglesworth plan out there. Even Tasha brought up Wigglesworth, in a sense, at the reward challenge. She brought her up, but at the reward. But I could just see them going back and Jeremy saying, look, we can get those three at any time. He can go to Tasha and say, hey, it's me, you, and Abby. We can get Kelly and we can get Sierra at any time, but we need to break Joe. We can't let Joe go farther. But we learned this week that Kimmy apparently is very close to Joe. She listed Joe, I think Keith, and Tasha as her closest, or it was Wigglesworth. Wigglesworth, Keith, and Joe. So it's like, who is Kimmy tight with? But I think they'll go back to Jeremy, and like Dwayne said, and try and rekindle that. And he's got a good reason to say, look, like I said, we can get rid of those 3 anytime, but we got to break Joe at some point. We can't let him go on a Mike Holloway run and get to the end just on challenges. We got to get him out. So taking out Wigglesworth was just taking out one of his strongholds, one of his support blocks.
Right. It's smart to listen. A lot of times, though, to me, like when I listen to Tribal Council and people's answers, some people answer and they act like they're just answering the question and it's the truth. Other people are answering the question and they are playing the game as they answer. And so what comes out of their mouth, Kim in our season was very good at doing that. She never answered the question at all. And she always, threw out some answer that sounded great and made it sound like, oh, yeah, I'm doing this. And she wasn't doing that at all. So Jeremy, to me, I see Jeremy doing that same thing when I watch him answer. Like, oh, yeah, I think we're doing it in blocks or we're doing this. Like, he knows what's going on. He might act like he doesn't go on.
Oh, yeah.
His answers might be vague, and some people do that for a reason in Tribal Council in front of everybody, answer vaguely and act like they don't know what's going on so that they'll never have a target. People are like, oh, if they really answered in a smart way, everyone's going to go, oh, that's a hell of an answer right there. That guy, he's really smarter than I thought. It's like, okay, all of a sudden he's got a target. Everyone's always trying to push the target away from them and put the target somewhere else. The target, that's the whole game. Where's the target going? Where is the target now? The target, is it on me? Oh, no, I'm going to deflect it by acting dumb or saying a wrong answer or saying something to somebody else in Tribal Council, or I'm going to use Jeff to my advantage and I'm going to do this. If you're really one of these people that can really play the game, there's not that many that really truly can play the game. Some are just out there kind of going along on an adventure, and they're kind of playing the game because they know it's like alliances. But then there's other people who are playing with every word that they express, and they're using every means that they can, including Jeff Probst and Tribal Council, to do that. There's a different kind of player.
Yeah.
I really liked Wentworth's answer last week when Jeff said, "Who came to you?" And she says, "Well, I'm not going to call him out because I might have to play with him."
Perfect answer.
Yeah.
So she saved Joe. She didn't call him out, but she also told the other people, "If you come to me, I won't name you. I'll keep it private. So I'm here if you want to come talk to me." That was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm loyal to the people I'm with, she said.
Yeah.
And I asked her today because when they go back to camp that night, she's like chomping at the bit to be able to apologize to everybody, So I asked her, I said, "Did you do something at Tribal Council that we didn't see? I mean, did you go off or something?" And she goes, "Yeah, I kind of did." So, so she did go off a little bit, but she handled it well when she came back to camp, and then it was like, let's all praise Kelly for the next 20 minutes at camp. That was interesting.
Yeah.
If I was Kelly, I would have been, okay, can we stop talking about what I did? Can we talk about
there again, there's the target being put on someone, and you don't want a target on yourself. It's the last thing you want.
In fact, I tweeted today that Kelly, if Kelly wins this thing, she owes Fishback a night on the town at the very least, because she would have been going home this week if it hadn't been for Fishback.
Yeah.
Make big moves.
Yeah.
Fishmack.
Fishback.
Yeah. Steven saved her butt, man, big time.
See, I haven't gone back and watched too many other seasons twice. I've watched a little bit of Borneo again because Gracie wanted to watch it. But watching Steven this season, I want to go back and watch Tocantins again and just see how he played that season, if it was the same way, because he's become the narrator this season. I think Spencer started out early because he was always on the other end. He was about to be voted out or close to it. But now Fishback has given us all this great narration and great strategy that he's trying to use, and like you talked about earlier with passion and Savage, Fishback has passion. He wants to win this game so bad to correct his mistakes from his first time out.
Yeah, it's like Fishback had his own little throne this episode. Every single gosh, I can't talk tonight. Every single confessional he had was from that same spot,
Yeah.
And it's like, and he had so many confessionals tonight or last night. Oh my goodness, that was crazy.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he had a lot.
All right, so how about this immunity challenge? TroyZan. You're standing there. It is pouring down rain. From what I've been hearing, they were having a little trouble hearing Probst, right?
I can imagine. Yeah, because there's no microphone, or there's no speakers out there that are people being blasted. So you're only hearing Jeff's voice, from the distance that you're there. So there's nothing there's no community. And the thing is, there's no other people around. I mean, like the camera guys are way up on shore.
Right.
It's not like you can get any clues or any kind of thing. So it's like I can see when it's pouring hard and it's hitting the water as well.
Yeah, you can't hear.
You can't hear. I mean, like, so, as he's saying, 5 minutes left or 2.
Right.
So it's one of those things where you just got to put your head down and just, somehow try to block out what's happening. Is and that's painful too, that challenge on your feet. That is a lot of pain. This is being pressured on your feet. And that's a tough challenge, although I love watching it because I'm like, I have pretty good balance, and I'm like, oh God, I can do that. I can do that challenge, man. I give Joe a run. I give Joe a run for his money, man. It's like I balance. It's like, so I'm like, come on, man, let me play that game.
Well, you were talking about the rain hitting the water and it being hard to hear, and you just need to just zone out. Well, that I believe it was Kelly Wigglesworth in a CBS extra video was talking about she heard Probst say something and she was like, okay, yeah, whatever. By the time she realized what it was, Fishback and Spencer had already jumped off. Jeremy was the same way. I heard him talk about it. He thought he was talking about food or something, and he wasn't really paying attention, and so some of them really didn't even know what was going on.
Right.
Now, what was really funny was in Jeremy's, he goes, I probably still could have beat him to the buoy, but I decided not to. I decided not to.
Well, I think at that point when he said, whoever swims to the buoy, was it really raining like crazy at that point or not?
It was. It was raining.
Seemed like it was the whole time.
It was always raining. It may not have been, a downpour, but it was still raining. And from what I got from their confessionals was that it was a little difficult to hear. So.
Well, I can imagine, and being a photographer, I know that when rain is shown on television or with a still camera, it has to really be pouring for you to see it.
Right.
And the fact that we saw it raining means that it was raining probably double if you saw it for yourself live. So it was.
Yeah, that's like in sports matches. You don't notice it in NFL games unless they show a close-up of a play or something. Then you see all the rain hitting.
Right, and that's being a photographer, when I saw that, I'm like, oh damn, that it's not just raining. It's not just raining hard. It is pouring.
Yeah, which also makes the wood slippery. Hello.
Yeah, it makes everything. Plus, you're cold. I don't care how hot it is. If it's pouring rain on you, you're soaking wet, and any kind of breeze, you're getting cold, man, and you don't have a lot of fat on you by at this point, in the game. You're losing a lot of weight, and plus you're hungry.
Right.
It's not like Joe's a beast, man. That's really,
Yeah, Joe is a beast.
Joe does yoga, so that's perfect for him. That's balancing and concentrating, and that's what yoga is.
Yeah. Well, in fact, Kelly Wigglesworth said that she thinks she would have beat Joe, but she did not hear Probst tell her that she had run out of time.
To go with 1 foot.
Well, she heard that, but she didn't realize he was counting down or something. That she was like, all of a sudden, I'm disqualified. But when he
got to like 2-1, when he got to 2-1, she had to throw her foot up because she realized she was about to be out of it.
That's
she
tough.
Didn't get her foot off the block.
The countdown thing's always tough. I remember he did that with us on the countdown, and like, oh man, because if you're like really close, because say he's counting down from 30 seconds and you're balancing balls or wherever, and say one's going off and he's only at 10. Oh, well, okay, I can put it back. I got time.
Right.
But the thing is, like, when you're right down to that, he's going 2, 1, up, like, it's up to his discretion too. You notice how he let Wentworth kind of go a little longer. She kept that foot on at least 2, 3, 4 seconds more, and he's like, nah, you're taking way too long. You're out of the competition. So there's no referees out there. Jeff's the ref. It's up to his discretion. He can say whatever he wants to say.
Right.
Well, finally we got an episode with no balancing balls this season. I'm so glad for that. No comments about them. But I will go on record to say that I've never been more wrong in an episode than I was in this episode, especially about this challenge, because I just knew that as much as Joe knows about Survivor, this is a challenge that favors small-footed people like Andrea Belke that won and Wu that won. And Joe blew my theory out of the water. So everybody that was on Facebook and said that Joe would win because he's a good balancer, you were right and I was wrong. So this challenge is not just for the little-footed anymore. It's for anybody that can balance, and it's for Joe. Any challenge is for Joe. So, but man, I was so wrong because I thought he would jump in and go for the buoy because he would know, man, these smaller people are going to have a better chance.
They could have changed the challenge to where you stayed on the rungs longer, and then when you finally balancing on the top, made that. So, because the people with bigger feet, his feet would have started to hurt for sure.
Well, with the way editing is, there was multiple rungs, but they started on the second one. I wonder if the challenge took so long, they just cut it down in the edit and started them on the second, then jumped them right to the top.
I guarantee that's what happened, because when I watched my season, I would watch this, and I knew how the challenges went. I could see how they skipped, certain sections and made it like. I mean, I remember 2 specific ones where we did the basketball hoop in the water. You gotta chase each other down and then score a basket. Well, we ended up killing the team like, I don't know, it was like 5-1, and they showed it that we beat them 3-1. So they cut like whole sections out, making it look like and even Jeff did that with my challenge when I won an immunity, where I had to win immunity, where I was doing a slingshot coconut with TroyZan, where they made it look like it was supposed to be tic-tac-toe. Whoever got 3 in a row first, that wasn't true. It was whoever broke out all 9. I killed TroyZan like 9-3 or 9-4. They showed me breaking out a last one and then me jumping off. Well, me jumping off, that's after I hit 9 in a row. That's just edited. I hit 3, and they made it look like, oh, TroyZan just got 3 in a row, and that's how he won. I mean, either way, they showed that I won, but that wasn't true. They cut it down, and they did that in a lot of challenges. So they cut it down, and they only show what is actually kind of important.
Right.
Yeah, like this season's the slip and slide with the ring toss. Everybody went. In fact, everybody went just about twice, because Kelly Wentworth told us that her loss to Wigglesworth was actually a rematch where she beat her the first time. So it was much more than that. Something I thought was really neat. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, are you still on this challenge?
No, I was going to move on. Go ahead.
Okay. I feel like Abby could have won this if she didn't get a leg cramp. And
it wasn't a leg cramp.
Or a foot cramp?
Bottom cramp.
It was a butt cramp?
It was a bottom cramp. Yes.
Hell, I'll say it, butt cramp.
I've never heard of a butt cramp before. What the heck is a butt cramp?
Well, your glutes.
Go back and listen. Yeah.
Your glutes get super tight standing there. So, like, when you stand in one spot, especially on one leg, it's
I
like
guess she was clenching.
You tighten. No, you start to tighten up. No, that's 100%. You will tighten. Do it. I tell you, go stand on one leg right now for 1 minute. You start.
All right. I'm doing it right now. Well, I'm gonna see if I get a butt cramp.
Although she made a mistake by doing that stretch. Like,
I know. As soon as she did that, I thought she's gone. Wigglesworth said the same thing in her.
If she's a gymnast in a gymnasium, she's okay. But on a slippery piece of wood while it's raining, man, she's risking it.
Yeah.
But no, this episode I liked, and something I wanted to ask TroyZan about was, at least 3 times we got the question to me that you always say yes. And once was when Fishback went to the 3 girls and he wanted to talk. They were completely willing to talk about it, and they said yes. Then at the reward, Sierra said, are we just gonna mull over, or can we talk strategy? And Tasha's like, yeah, we'll talk strategy. And I'm like, yes, you always say yes. You always want to listen. And then at tribal council, when Probst said, who feels threatened, whose heart's panning out of their chest, who feels like tonight could be their night, to me, you raise your hand because
Absolutely.
you don't want to show anybody the confidence that you're having.
Of course.
And it's funny. I asked somebody, I said, was there 2 questions asked? Because the video they showed, just a minor editing thing, Jeremy raised his hand with all the people that got named except for Spencer. But when Probst called the names out, he called out Spencer instead of Jeremy. So I think there was 2 questions asked where hands were raised.
Oh.
But to me, and I've put a picture on our Facebook group, but to me, you raise your hand. You never reveal it, because Wigglesworth did not raise her hand.
Yeah.
And and it's one of those things where you always let people know, I'm not comfortable. I'm always worried. I'm going to do what it takes to stay in the game.
He asked that to us on our season. My hand went right up. I knew I wasn't going home. I knew.
How many times? Like every tribal council, or just
no, a couple times. Only I think maybe twice. But I'm like, hey, yeah, I'm going home, because I'm like, I don't want anybody to think that I'm so confident that like there's a target.
Right.
So guess what? Oh yeah, I'm going home, man. I'm all bummed out. So I raised my hand right away for sure.
Except for the first one. Bill should have been the only one raising his hand at the first one. Otherwise.
Yeah. No. I'm not even going to go there. I'm sure it's been discussed 1,000 times, but why in the world would Bill agree? But that's I don't. It's okay.
Well, because the whole thing, Bill agreed to that. I think Bill agreed to that because he felt confident he wasn't going home. We had told Leaf, "You're going home, bro, because you broke our trust. You told Bill that we were going to vote him out. So guess what? Now you're going because we don't trust you anymore." Da da da. And Bill thought like, well, the only way I can go is kind of go with the group and show them that I'm loyal again. I'm going to go with the group and show them my loyalty. And that's what I'm going to do. So that's why I'm going to agree to it. That's what he told me.
Yeah.
That you wanted to get loyalty back, and the only way to show it was to go along with this thing.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh God, he's going with it. And part of me, I mean, he was such a good guy, but Bill was a super smart guy. As far as like strategy, they didn't really show it, but he could have a conversation. And this happens a lot in Survivor, where a group of 3 will be having a conversation and really strategizing about something, and then someone will walk up on that group, and all of a sudden they're not part of the thing. So then you have to lie and come up with some crazy story. Oh yeah, the fish, those were really big, weren't they? That was crazy stuff. And it's like no one can lie that quick.
Right.
But Bill, he could change the story and go into some crazy instantaneously and make it believable. And so I was like, that guy's way too good, man. This guy can change his story, and he can BS really well. I'm like, I don't know. That's kind of threatening to me. I don't know if I want a guy like that can like just lie straight to your face and make it seem really real.
Yeah.
So that was his downfall, that he was too good of a storyteller. So
since we're jumping around, I want to ask you a question, because I know it's getting close to your bedtime, but I want to ask you a question about Ponderosa.
Okay.
You don't have to name names, but was there somebody there that you really didn't want to sit beside, you really didn't want to talk to, but you still kept an open dialogue with them, or you still kept? I remember watching One World, because y'all were the first season we podcasted, and I don't remember watching Ponderosa videos before that, so I don't even know if they did them. But
okay.
I really enjoyed y'all's videos, because it was like the open tent area. All the food was right together. You guys were so tight. You were forced to be together. Right. It was very entertaining for me, and you were always there greeting everybody that came in. It was like everybody had a chance to get rid of their negativity. Everybody was positive. But was there ever? Y'all were still playing the game in a sense, because you were still the jury. You were still going to have a big say in the end. But was there anybody that you just stayed away from at Ponderosa, that you just avoided? Because we're getting that right now with the Savage, Wigglesworth, and Cass situation. There's a split at Ponderosa with only 3 people, but there's a split.
Well, our cast has always been known as to be one of the closest casts for some reason. I don't know why. But as Ponderosa went on, I mean, when I first came to Ponderosa, Mike didn't say 2 words to me. He didn't want to say. He didn't come up and say hi. He was, Jay was afraid to come up and say hi because he was the one who screwed up. And I'm like, Jay, you gotta go, you gotta vote against these girls. And then he ended up going home and he told Kim that I had, just totally backstabbed me. So he thought, oh, Troy's gonna be really pissed off at me. And I wasn't mad at all. I just by that time, it's a game and it's over. And the thing is, as people come in fresh out of the game, they're still in the game, so they are angry. Kat and Alicia got into a mega fight. I mean, I thought they were going to kill each other, and they didn't like each other right away. But as far as like strategizing and really playing the game in Ponderosa on our season, I'd say it was me and maybe Jonas that was really doing any kind of like, listen, I'm still, I might be out of the game, but I'm still a part of the game, and I'm going to have a say in who wins.
Right.
So I still was playing. I'd walk into tribal and just stare at him. I stare, not even my first tribal council. I came in and I stared at Kim like I was a mass murderer. I did not lay my eyes off her for like 2 solid hours, and people started going, oh my God. TroyZan's lost his mind. He's gonna, I think, and she got all nervous. She's like, I gotta call security when this game is over at the airport, because I think he's gonna hurt me, and someone's gonna, I remember just going,
yeah. That's funny.
And my eyes didn't even blink, and people was like, Jonas laughed because he knew I was just doing it as a joke. So Jonas just started to laugh, and I didn't even laugh. But after it was over, we get in the vans and go back and go, bro, I don't know how you did that. You just were so solid, you didn't even move. I was like, I just want to toy with him.
Cass has told us that what she's doing at Tribal Council is every time someone makes eye contact with her, other than the ones that she wants to win, she goes, no votes.
Yeah.
No.
You can definitely mess with people. I just feel like when Cass, I think I did see her Ponderosa, and she said, I might be out of the game, but I'm still a part of it in a sense.
Yeah.
I still want to play, and that's the way I felt. I I'm not done playing. I still want to play from Ponderosa. When I walk into Tribal Council, I'm still part of this show, and I'm going to show that, I can still affect the vote and all of that stuff, even though they kind of said, no talking about votes and no talking about, they kind of warned us, at Ponderosa, don't do this. Well, if you want to do that, then you better separate us. And we're living together for 2 weeks or whatever. Yeah. I was there 10 days. So I'm like, there's no way to stop us from talking. I mean, it's like that's what we're going to do. And that's the thing. Fair or unfair, the person that actually is the best, I should say, person to convince other people of their view it's good on whoever wins, because, you can be a big influence in Ponderosa and change people's votes.
Right.
And to the way you want it, not the way they really want it to. So is that fair? Is it not fair? It's like, is it really their vote, or is it like, is Cass smart enough to be like, well, I'm going to convince 2 other people to vote my way, and I just stole 2 votes from somebody.
Well, now,
in the way
now you know what's making Fishback so nervous. Is that who he's sending to the jury? Because those people are going to decide his fate.
Yep.
It's true, yeah, but in the end, like, as much as things go on and as many speeches happen and people think that they're voting on their speeches, it comes down to a personality contest in the end. It always kind of does. It comes down to a personality contest.
Huh. Wow. Well, do you have anything else you want to tell us about that you're enjoying about the season, or insight that you want to share, or anything you wanted to make sure you said that you haven't gotten to say?
Well, I I honestly am surprised that I am enjoying the season as much as I am.
You're not allowed. You're not in it, so you're not allowed to.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I thought to myself. I thought in the beginning, because all summer long I'm like, oh man, here it comes, Survivor's coming, and then when they announced the cast, that was kind of difficult for me, just because to announce a cast that you felt like I was so close to actually, I could have been that guy right there in the picture, and so that was tough. And I tried to avoid social media because I just didn't want to hear all like, oh, here, second chances is coming, and look how much fun it was, and look how
Yeah.
great I am, and you know, so I just kind of stayed away, and then I thought, oh man, how am I going to watch this first episode? It's going to be brutal, you know, like just to watch it knowing that you're, you know.
I'd have done better. I'd have thrown that ball better.
Well, not so much that, not so much.
I was
that,
this close to being there, right?
Yeah, that close to being there, to going to the Olympics again, or going to the
Right.
Super Bowl again. Like I was in the audience. I was like, you know, I was like one word away from Jeff Probst saying like, oh yeah, TroyZan, guess what? Get up on that stage. So it's like, so for me, it's like, the first episode, it was tough. I have to say, like, I watched a clip of it, and I watched them walking through these temples, and this, I had to turn my head from the screen, and I got tears in my eyes. I'm like, oh, I don't know, this is crazy. Like, I really, you know, I felt sad just because I'm so invested in it for my, you know, since the very first season, the very first episode, 2001 or 2000, whenever it was. And so, but as the season's gone on, I've just really enjoyed it. I've got to speak to, you know, some of the people that are playing and texting back and forth, you know, and I got to talk to Jeff Varner, who I saw in Celebration, Florida this summer.
Yeah.
And he was actually my roommate, so we didn't really talk a ton about the show, but just to meet him, and because some of the guys I did only got to see in the green room for like a short time, so I actually got to meet and spend time with Jeff, a great guy, and it's just been fun to, like, you know, talk about this season, and I think it's been going fantastic. I mean, like, as far as like strategy, and you know, Joe being like this immunity crazy guy, and you know, the way Varner was in the beginning, and you know, Abby Maria kind of going crazy in the beginning of the stages, and just, you know, I've truly enjoyed, you know, watching a good you know, season of Survivor where, you know, things are happening. It's not just nothing's predictable. You know, it's why we watch Survivor. They're still, and they're bringing in the aspect of, like, you know, a little bit of more suffering, at least with the rain. I mean, you can't see they're suffering like they're starving, because it looks like they're eating like the food challenge all the time. But, you know, it's kind of this old school, new school, so you're going to see some old school stuff. So I'm surprisingly, you know, really liking it, and I'm loving talking about it. I wouldn't be here with you guys unless I didn't really love, you know, this season, you know. And so, and as long as it gets fantastic ratings, guess what? That means that they're going to plan Survivor next year, and it just won't end. And guess what? Maybe I will get a second chance. So
and
part of me,
you need to vote for TroyZan.
Exactly.
Oh man. Well, I know that I mean, I'm not trying to rush you off, but I know you got to get up really early in the morning. So, do you want to hang around some more, or are you about ready to go?
Well, I probably should. I mean, it's like, what time is it right now? I don't even know what time it is.
It's 10:25.
Yeah, I better hit it. I got to get up at like 5:30, and it's gonna be a long day of shooting. So.
Yeah, well,
I would love to stay, guys, for sure, and maybe I just come back another time, and I can, you know, stay for the full gamut.
Well, it's been fun talking to you, and I certainly enjoyed meeting you at Durham Warriors Survival Challenge, and getting to film you and watch you just dominate challenges.
Well, it was a blast. I mean, it really that was truly an adventure that it was unexpected the way I would really feel about it. It was I really felt I was playing Survivor. It gave me a second chance to, like, actually play, and I actually learned some things from playing again. So when I do play on the television version, I'm like, I'm going to take some of the things from Durham Warrior and actually use them to my advantage. And for that, I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful for meeting you guys. I'm thankful for playing with David, and some of the things that I actually, you know, played and did with David, I'm going to use, you know, again. So, I mean, for me, that was fantastic. So it was kind of like a godsend. It's like, you know, you got to play and kind of be a certain way, and guess what, buddy? You're going to take those adventures and those strategies with you in the next time that you play, because I you know, it was a big deal. So I want to go back and see everybody next year. I had a blast, and it was great
Yeah, I got my
both
book.
You guys.
Once pigs fly, and I get that phone call, I got my book on Wendy, on Joel, on Jill, and TroyZan, and even a little bit on Brooke, on things I need to remember in case I ever go out there and play.
Exactly. I mean, I hope that I don't know when a video is going to come out, but I'd like to see a video of those.
They're
4
getting
or 5
close.
days. Yeah.
I was talking to Andy about it yesterday. They're getting close with getting the video done.
Okay.
So, but we're going to do, I guess we can say, we're going to do a production podcast in January.
Okay.
With some of the folks from there. So we're going to be promoting it because they're going to be starting taking applications for 2016 in January. So we got another podcast that'll be before the next season of Survivor starts. So, I think it's going to come out in correlation with that podcast around that timing. So I can't wait.
Cool.
Okay. Cool.
Now, TroyZan, I don't know if you realize this, but David's highlight of the Durham Warrior Survival Challenge involves you.
Really?
David, do you want to share what that was?
Interesting. Okay.
Well, he probably didn't hear my celebration, but it was throwing a ball over your head into a net.
He beat you in a challenge.
Yes, he did. I vividly remember that too.
But what I didn't tell Troy was fortunately we didn't have to jump at that point. We're at the tiebreaker, and I got to stand still on the pier and throw it like a football. But TroyZan never got to the middle of that dock. He was so worried about balancing and trying to stay on that crazy thing. He kept sliding to the outside. So I just stood there and kept waiting for him to slide further and further and further to the outside. And I almost said, if it hadn't been Survivor, I would have said, hey, you're not in the middle, because I'm thinking about my goalkeepers that I train in soccer. You got to get in the middle of the goal.
You almost helped him.
I almost helped him, but I said, no, he's sliding. He's still sliding. Okay, I'm going to throw it now. And I think you had jumped in, and I said, "This is my pier." You know, after I said that.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think anybody heard me or recorded that. But I threw it out there and said, "Nah, nobody heard it. It's not going to get on the video."
Awesome.
But yes, that was my highlight. So.
Well, that's hey, I'm not going to tap myself on the shoulder, but when you beat me, you've done something pretty good. So.
There you go. There you go. Well, TroyZan, it's been a blast. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And we look forward to talking to you again and having you on again. Maybe next season we can have you on again. It'd be great.
Sounds great, guys. So, I really had a fun time, and it's good to come on there with the D&D, and I hope to be back soon.
Thanks.
Definitely.
Man.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Okay, all guys, right. Take care.
All
okay.
Right, bye-bye.
See ya.
What's up, guys? It's Will from Wonder Lake again, a.k.a. the Giant Ninja. Well, shopping season is upon us again, and if you'd like to support the podcast while you're doing your online shopping at absolutely no cost to you, just visit www.sgwdd.com/Amazon or go to D&D's website and follow the links. Now, back to the show. Later, peeps.
All right, thank you.
I thought TroyZan had fallen or something.
I know.
What's that noise? And that noise from the TroyZan sound, and then Will was like, "What's that noise? Is he okay?"
Oh man, thank you, Will. So, man, what a great,
Thank you for going in the direction we went. I know we didn't recap like we usually do, but that was so much fun.
I don't care.
But that's what I got to do with him all day. When we were playing a tournament, he's so fun to talk to, and he's such a nice person when you get to meet him up close. And I hate that he said I could have talked to him into doing something. So I don't want to do it anymore.
Pre-show, y'all, and I hadn't pushed record yet. I go and get my in-ear monitors, and I come back, and what are they doing? They're talking about Durham Warrior Survival Challenge, and TroyZan tells him, "Oh yeah, you could have talked me into going against them." And you could have seen David's face. It's like, oh,
I've still got tears.
Oh, what could have been?
Oh,
what
man.
could have been?
See, I never wanted to ask him that because I didn't want to know.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Woo. Well,
I think
there
I got
you go.
everything out of my notes, so I think we're good on the recap.
But that's okay. Let's talk about let's hit our listener feedback. We've got Lazarus first, so David's going to read Lazarus.
Oh goodness, you're going to do that while I'm not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want me to do something else?
I apologize. I can get to it in just a matter of seconds.
All right.
You can talk about something else.
Well, I can start it. Hey, D&D, Laz again. I didn't want to say it too much along the way, but this has been truly a great season and is only shaping up to be even better. As we expected, smart players like Steven, whom, if they stayed 100% loyal to their initial group, would lose in the end, are building their stories to win. You have it up yet?
I'm ready.
Okay.
All right, he continues. Jeremy is beasting out and working his butt off collecting those idols. He was willing to swing with Steven too, shown in the vote. Yeah, I think we're right about that. I think Jeremy and Steven are very tight. Yeah. So let's see. I like Jeremy as the winner so far. Next week, we have a double episode. Some fans don't like to dig into the edit, but 2 EPs usually means predictable votes. Unfortunately, I could see the demise of 2/3 of the Witches' Coven coming. Do you really think they'll have a double episode air with Joe being eliminated? The scary thing is that means he likely wins another 2 immunities. So what do you think? He's got a good point. When it's usually a double, it's usually predictable.
Yeah, but how is this predictable? I mean, it's not predictable right now. There's no pagonging going on.
Exactly. There is no predictable this season. I agree with you on that one.
I don't know.
I was going to say one thing I had in my notes was when Jeremy found the 2 idols and he kept going on and on and on. I'm like, I got two. I'm thinking you could go home with 2 if you're not careful. Well,
I'm going to play both of them. I'm going to get lots of points.
15 seconds later, and when he talks about Val and who he's playing for, it's like TroyZan said, the guy is much smarter than he might be letting on in some of his edit. He's on top of it. He knows it. And I'm like, ooh, this could be our winner.
Yeah.
I thought it was one way, and now it's like, no. And 2 idols. You don't need to play him, Jeremy. Keep him in your pocket. Take him home to Val. Just win without the idols. All right. Lazarus finishes up. I'll click send now, so I stop typing. Loving the season. Even Abby, who I gave crud to from her edit, is much more reasonable recently. She is. I think Abby's been told to tone it down so that she doesn't bring any more into it.
Well, you actually know that, or are you not? Yeah.
I was told that. She was told to turn it down and let's just ride this wave.
Right.
So,
all right. Next we have Steve Tarantino, and he goes, "Hey D&D, nice wet Survivor this week. I see the flood continued last week. I'm sure Survivor loves it when rain gets the survivors all wet during the challenge and camp." Oh yeah, they do.
That's and that is one thing I've heard about the season that was already filmed. It's the only thing I've heard, and obviously we're avoiding everything. And I don't know if there's anything even out there.
Heard anything?
The only thing I've heard is it was horrible. The weather was horrible. Yes.
Nice.
So this should be very good.
Nice. The first challenge was a blowout. You get spa treatment with food, but no clue with the idol. You know what they need to show? The shower scene for Joe for the ladies. LOL. By the way, about that first challenge, I asked Kelly Wentworth about it because to me it's so obvious that the lines, that's where they need to be. The lines need to be. And I was like, Kelly, what was going on? And she said, I tried to tell them, but they weren't listening to me. And Wigglesworth, in a confessional on CBS.com or on YouTube, said the same thing, that she and Kelly were trying to get them to do that, but they weren't listening to them.
Too many Chiefs, not enough Indians.
That's right.
One voice, one loud voice. You follow the voice.
That's right. All right. Since Kelly Glasses played the idol, now it is all out with the new idol. Funny. Why were they not looking for this before? Maybe they were. My man Jeremy, the one in the finale, I feel, found the idol. Well, the map of the idol. What was the reasoning to do it that way? Maybe she couldn't follow the map. Maybe you guys have an idea. Just put the idol with the bag. No? Or maybe do something different. All right. This is why I think, Steve, because the risk is you have to leave in the middle of the night. And usually when people leave, people get suspicious. So it's the same thing with the finding the idols at the challenges. You have to try to do it without being seen. So knowing where the idol is, but having to do it in front of everybody is where the risk is. And that's why they did it that way.
I completely agree, just with a little different wording in that I think they want these people to earn these idols by risking their necks. Just what you just said. What you said. But they're not going to make it easy on these guys. And I love it. The theme of this season is you don't get the idol, you find the clue. Because everybody knows to look in trees, look under rocks, look under this, look under that. that's where you find clues. You still have to work, and I love it. I love that they're doing that. Like you said, you got to risk it at the. I love it at the challenges.
Oh yeah,
love it.
Yeah.
What? Sorry, I did want to point out in the recap. I love that Kelly did not give up where she found the idol or how she got it.
Oh, I know,
because she saved somebody else, and in a sense, she did not reveal, and so they couldn't go look at the next challenge and start looking for him.
That's right.
I like how she hit it.
That's right. Now with 2 idols, Jeremy should be safe for a few weeks. Still, with 2 idols, you need to know when to play them. We've seen people get voted off with idols in their pocket. Question, can you give your idol away if you get voted off? No, right? I do not believe you can.
No, you can't. Once you're voted off, you can't turn around and pass your idol off. But the thing about Jeremy is he's got a good point about knowing when to play it, because when did Wentworth become a target? Once she played an idol. Yeah. So as soon as Jeremy has to burn one, he's going to have a big target on his back.
Well, she was a target before she played it.
She was, but they keep bringing up the fact that she had this idol. And
I know, but she was going home if she didn't have the idol, so she was a target.
But she was going home as one of the 3 girls they could get rid of, in my opinion. Now they're calling her a threat because she had an idol and she knew when to play it. Okay. So are you standing up or are you just dancing?
I'm standing up.
I thought so. I thought you were. You're moving about like you are. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Where am I?
The standing challenge.
Yeah. The standing challenge with the rain. LOL. Wow. I'm so surprised that Joga won again. People on Facebook were saying Survivor is favoring Joe with challenges to keep him in. They just have physical challenges, not puzzles. In other words, he doesn't agree. Maybe. I'm sorry. Myself, I don't see it. It is too early to think that way. If it continues, then I have to think again. I don't think that way at all. I don't think the game is rigged that way.
In fact, I thought this challenge favored the other people, and I was wrong. So,
would you guys take the advantage that Jeff gave? If I knew what it was, heck yeah.
If I saw myself having no chance at the challenge, then I would tell my alliance that I did it to keep somebody else from getting the advantage.
Yeah. I guess if you have no shot to win that challenge, you need to do it, right?
Right.
Yes. Props to Keith for staying in as long as he did. Still not really sure how it works. I'm not sure what he's talking about. What's he not?
Oh, how the vote works, how they steal a vote works. I think that's what he's talking about. How the advantage works.
Oh, I don't know where you get that, but okay.
We talked about that. I don't think Keith heard probes. That's probably why he didn't jump.
Yeah.
he zoned him out too.
Yeah. At Tribal Council, they finally got together and split the votes. I guess they learned from last Tribal Council. Kelly Glass is still in. Yes. Sorry for the other Kelly. I did like her. Maybe they should put a roof on Tribal Council. I understand it is fun to see them suffer at camp and challenges, but at Tribal Council? Come on, Survivor. Not at Tribal Council. They are shivering, answering questions for 2 hours. I heard this is normally what it lasts. Steve, I have news for you. Probst loves it when it rains at Tribal Council.
Because he's
only absolutely loves it.
He's got a roof waiting for him and an umbrella.
Yep.
And they do usually last at least 2 hours. And I think we were told last week's was Cass's Tribal Council was 3 hours long.
Yeah. Sorry, my wife's trying to call me.
Okay.
I just said podcasting. All right. So let's hope if she needs me in emergency, she might call again. If so, I will turn it over to you. All right. Okay, D&D. Catch you guys next week. Jeff said in one interview, 2 episodes next week, baby. Perfect for Thanksgiving. Bring your umbrella. More rain next week. By the way, I'm going to, Steve, New York graphic artist. By the way, that reminds me, we're going to talk about it in Pondering Ponderosa. But one thing about the Ponderosa videos is it gives you kind of an idea of what the weather's going to be like for the next episode.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Yeah. All right. Next, we have Andy. Is this Andy Westover?
Yes.
Yes, it is. From Missouri. Go ahead, David.
Good evening, Dwayne and David. Another great episode and a great season. For such an invisible player as Wiggles was this season, it says something to me that her boot episode was still interesting. With the alliances or voting blocks being as they are, I think it's hard to imagine it being anything but interesting the rest of the way out. I agree. For somebody that seemed invisible, this was still a really good episode. What I wanted to talk about a little this week is Jeremy's idol find. I think the wandering through the night was far less interesting than finding the idol at the challenge, but good for him anyway for getting it done. Now that Jeremy has his second idol, he is in very rare company in the game. The first thought in my mind, like many probably, was hoping that he doesn't go the same way as James Clement in China. I decided to take another trip to Wiki to see what historically Jeremy's chances look like moving forward based on what others have done with 2 idols. Disclaimer again, I did this quickly and may have missed someone, so be kind. So before I get into this, I want to say that I think they did the walk in the dark to the lantern because they didn't want to stick it at a challenge with individual immunity. Now, they could have done it at a reward challenge. That's true. Put the idol in someplace there. But
well, and they very well might have had a clue for that.
Right, but he found it after the reward challenge. According to
they changed. Well, right. I guess what I'm saying is I think they would hide a clue before every reward challenge, and if someone found it, then they set the idol. He didn't find one before the reward challenge, so they do another clue since the next challenge is the immunity challenge.
And they put it in those sticks that you take the key through with the rope, and then when everybody goes through, that's when somebody can grab the idol. I like that. I totally agree with you. They're probably putting out clues before every challenge.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't do that often, but I'm agreeing with you right now. So moving on. Okay, so here's all his wiki work. Wiki. Number 1, defining idol possession can be. I didn't know you were going to do that. Number 1.
Song from
I know. Wiki. Defining idol possession can be a somewhat murky issue. In my mind, for it to count, a player must have physical possession of the idol and the opportunity to decide how it is played.
I would agree.
Therefore, player A playing an idol for player B at Tribal Council, such as Tony Vlachos playing for his idol for LJ McKansas, does not count as an idol possession for player B, which would be LJ. Sugar Kuiper in Gabon found an idol and then is credited with the entire merge tribe for finding the idol that was thrown into the ocean. This is similarly excluded. In China, James Clement found one idol and then was given another and went out of the game with both in his pocket. This counts. Parvati found only one idol in Heroes vs. Villains, but had multiple other idols given to her at various times, which she then gave to others. So I'd say she counts. Number 2, now that our population is clarified, I bet Andy does this at his job.
Dude, he loves this kind of stuff. Can you imagine him and Mike K in the same room? They would just have a blast.
That blog would go all week if the 2 of them wrote a blog together.
I love it, though. I love having them in our group. I love it.
Read their conversation. That's what I want to read.
Y'all need to go to our Facebook group, stwdd.com/Facebook. This kind of stuff happens all the time. It's great.
Second, now that our population is clarified, let's look at the numbers. Counting those already discussed and the other cases that are more clear, we are left with 8 incidents of a player in a season who possessed at least 2 idols. Tony Vlachos.
You called LJ McKansas.
What? I did?
Yeah, you did.
What is it?
LJ McKanis.
Is it really?
Or McCannis. I mean, but it ain't McKansas.
You're right. There's no other S in there, is it? Okay. Maybe he spelled it wrong.
Maybe he did. I mean, I don't know the guy well enough to know.
He didn't. Okay. Tony Vlachos had 3 in Cagayan, and Russell Hantz possessed 3 in Heroes vs. Villains. Of those 8 players, the average finishing rank was 3.875. What did I do wrong?
Nothing. I'm messing with you.
You're looking ahead at words I'm going to mess up, aren't you? Okay. I'm so tired right now. 5 made the final Tribal Council, and 2 won the game.
Wow.
So only 2 of those 8 people. So
holy yeah, but 5 made the final Tribal.
Yeah.
Holy shamokins.
I wonder if it was counted against them that they had so many idols.
I don't know.
The 3 that did not make the final Tribal Council were James, 7th in China, Malcolm, 9th in Caraman, and John Mish, 6th in San Juan del Sur. Malcolm was on the wrong side of the numbers and went out in a blaze of glory. John and James went home with idols in their pockets.
Bad.
Yes. The moral of the story for Jeremy is play your idol if there is any risk, and you will likely cruise into the final Tribal Council and likely to victory. That's all for now. Andy Westover, Cameron, Missouri.
Can you imagine how long it took him to look through all the Survivor Wiki stuff to figure all that out?
Quite a while. All right.
Wow.
Hey, before we get to Will had a comment while we were talking to TroyZan about raising your hand at tribal council when asked if you were nervous, and he disagrees. He said raising your hand says I don't trust my alliance. So, that's a good point too. I want to read that.
Okay. All right. Our last feedback for the night is Will the Giant Ninja. So here we go. I got to start doing this more.
What's up, guys? It's Will from Wonder Lake again, a.k.a. the Giant Ninja. Well, a few weeks ago, I told you that it was looking like my Cassie, and I love me some Cass, was going to be the narrator for the second half of the season, or that she could be the narrator. And I was obviously wrong, because she was voted out pretty quickly after that point. But it looks like Fishback has become our narrator, and he's doing a fantastic job. He's even quoting, or should I say misquoting, Shakespeare as part of his narration. Dear Stephen, it is not boil, boil, toil. It is double, double toil and trouble. But that's all right. You hadn't eaten in a while when you were deciding to quote the witches there. But you were also drawing an analogy from Macbeth, which I thought was pretty interesting. Even more so that you didn't think about the implications. You said you didn't want to be the king that got slit in the night. You wanted to be the one who slit him in the night. Keep in mind what happened to Lady Macbeth after the king was assassinated. She couldn't sleep. She thought there was blood on her hands. She kept trying to get the spot out, and she went crazy. Stephen, I hope you don't become so fixated on the blood on your hands that you go crazy in the game. Because that move in last night's episode was phenomenal. That was Survivor. That was Vlachosian. That was like Tony Vlachos, using the people on the bottom to attack somebody on your side who wasn't loyal enough to you. And I loved it. I have no doubt going forward that there are going to be a lot of people questioning that move, whether it was too early. Well, you know what? In Cagayan at Final 9, people said it was too early for Tony to take out LJ. It wasn't. That was the right move. And in Survivor, the big moves almost have to be made on the odds. Final 11, I liked the move. In part because it solidified a few things for us. Number one, we now know that going forward, we have a triumvirate of Stephen, Jeremy, and Spencer, who seem tight together. They seem to want to work together, and they seem to trust each other. And it's going to be awesome to watch them going forward working together. We also have, apparently, Joe and Keith joined at the hip, and Tasha being more inclined to work with Joe and Keith than with Jeremy. And I think that comes down to the fact that Tasha was closer with Savage than she was with Jeremy. With Savage getting voted out, she wanted to go after Fishback with Savage and Joe. And I think there's a fracture there. The question is where Kimmy is going to land. I could see her sticking with Tasha and the Joe side. I could also see her sticking with Jeremy, who she's been with from day one. In fact, I could see Kimmy providing the Trish role for Stevens Vlachos, putting out fires and keeping the alliance together. I'm thrilled to see where this season is going to go from here. I could see either half of the so-called Alliance of Seven teaming up with the three witches and forming a majority. I could see the same six voting together again next week, or I could see the foursome voting with the witches and going after a Spencer or a Jeremy. And if that happens, I could see Jeremy playing his idol. This is fascinating stuff. I'm loving this season so far. And I absolutely can't wait to see what Fishback does with the vote stealer Steven's advantage is undoubtedly more powerful than even Danimal's advantage was last year. Because of the nature of the advantage, it's going to need to be used at an odd number, not an even number like Danimal's. But at our next odd number, maybe final 9 or then maybe final 7, Steven's going to take a vote that is not with him and create a new majority with a minority of players. And I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see where this season goes. This is level A Survivor. Later, peeps. Will at the Giant Ninja.
Will apparently was in the cockpit of a 747. I tried to put that in the editor and take it out, but it has so much low in it that it took out a lot of the lows in his voice.
I'm waiting for him to say this is my driving feedback.
Yes. Well, I don't know what he was driving, but oh my gosh. Anyway,
he's got a great point. He covered a lot of what we talked about, including Kimmy possibly being a focal point this week and who she could go with. Because early on, she ran Jeremy and Steven and told on Monica. And we just saw her talking to Joe saying she trusts, Keith and Wigglesworth. So, and she's going to be blindsided with Tasha. So it'd be interesting to see what Kimmy's going to do this week.
Yeah. All right. Before we get to pondering Ponderosa, I have a question. One of my initial thoughts was with CBS buying into and putting forth Fishback's evolution of the game, how is this going to translate in the next season, which was already filmed? I don't know. But so then I thought, so what is this supposed evolution of the game? I mean, is it really an evolution of the game? Or is it just being the same game being worded differently? Or what? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think there's I don't think people playing the old school way like Kelly Wigglesworth was playing. She said that she came in and wanted to play a similar game because she got a lot of compliments from the first way she played. She didn't want to backstab anybody or cross her morals or anything. She wanted to play the way she was and was going to try to go through like that, which may have been what got her voted out because she had so many relationships and friendships and she was nice to everybody and stuff. But there was this was a really big episode for alliances versus blocks.
Yeah.
But I think, and for anybody that thinks we don't like Fishback, we love Fishback. So I just want to say that I wasn't going to bring it up, but we love Fishback, especially this season. And I love listening to him. I like listening to him on Know It All. He's extremely smart, and Rob, and Josh right now, Wiggler. So, but anyway, this is so great because it fits. And I loved Fishback's narration this week of talking about we're at 11 right now, and we are 3 strong, but we are not the top 3. We are the bottom. We've got to find our block. And you can play these blocks. Tony Vlachos did it. He moved his blocks around. He took out LJ before he had to, but he did it because he knew he was going to be a threat later. But at the same time, he used it against him. And I think Fishback and Jeremy are going to use something against Wigglesworth to explain why she had to go. But they're still going to go back to their block or to their alliance, but keep the block tight. So Jeremy, Fishback, and Spencer, I think, are going to keep moving together from block to block. They don't have to stay in the same alliance. It's a lack of commitment, and it's not a bad thing to have a lack of commitment, but it's this week you're the block that fits my block and how I want this game to go. Next week they're the block, and but it's still the same rule. One of David's rules: do it to them before they do it to you.
Right.
So, but yeah, I don't know if that answers the question you're looking for, but I love the explanation we got this week from Fishback about how this game is going. And he put Spencer in a dizzy. Spencer was dizzy by the time this was over, according to the edit. That edit, we don't know when that confessional was, but he even admitted, I know I can do physics problems and everything else, but this is really deep stuff.
Right. But before I get to the main point of this, I am so looking forward to, and I'll be honest with you, I don't listen to a lot of other podcasts anymore. I listen to a lot of audible.com, but I do so much to prepare for this podcast, and I do so much with the website and everything and on Twitter that I'm kind of not really survivored out, but I just don't listen to a lot of other podcasts. I might listen to a portion of it or whatever, but I don't really devote time to listening to others. I will absolutely listen when Fishback gets back from this thing and he and Rob start having know-it-alls or whatever they're going to do to talk, I will be first in line. I cannot wait to hear, because I'm so looking forward to it. I mean, anyway, I'm just really am. So
no, I'm the same way from tomorrow morning until Monday morning. I'm usually non-Survivor. Unless somebody talks to me about it at church or at work or something, I'm usually focused on other stuff, especially on the weekends. Come Monday, I might pull up, Christiana and Mike,
right?
Just randomly pull up somebody, because by then the know-it-alls is so fresh. They do it so quickly afterwards. I kind of want to get more into theory where people, because Christiana and Mike do really good theory-based stuff. And in fact, I heard another one say, but like I said, 2 weeks ago, I pulled up Ben and TroyZan, and they really got into that pregame stuff, and I hadn't heard anybody describe pregame that way. And I emailed him yesterday. I said, hey, just so you know, I'm going to ask you to talk about what you and Ben talked about with that pregame stuff. I thought it was really good. So it's a random thing for me. I'll admit I'm listening to a little bit more now than I did before, but it's usually on Monday and Tuesday because I want to get a little bit more theory from what I've heard from last week. See what I missed.
Well, and also I've been into Audible books lately, so it's kind of, I don't even listen to ours anymore. I just do ours. Well, I don't even listen to ours anymore.
Never listened to ours. So.
I know you haven't. I know
my thing right now is graphic novels. I'm reading so many graphic comic books right now. It's unreal. So I'm not even listening to books. But now we're off topic.
Another one. Colton is on with Max, so you might want to catch that one as well. I'm not really sure where to find that one, but I'm sure it'll be on Twitter.
You can look up. I forget how I found that last time because I listened to the one that he did with somebody else. I forget.
I'm sure they can find it. All right. So I asked Andy Baker. He writes over at True Dork Times. You know Andy Baker. He's been on the show many times.
I've heard of him.
He writes The Baker's Dozen. And I asked him about this, and this is what he said. I'm going to quote him. In the past, the current 6-person majority alliance would pagong everyone, having faith that they were in a 4-person alliance within the 6, and that within that 4, they were in the final 3. That's the alliance approach. The block strategy, which I see as being an adaptive approach of smart returnees rather than a systemic of evolution to the game, involves many alliances, as in MINI alliances, of 2 or 3 being willing to bounce back and forth, trading the comfortable complacency of alliances for the ability to eliminate threats while building an in-game resume. As Tasha pointed out, you still need trust within a group of 2 or 3. But because this group, and I would argue any strategically strong returnee cast, doesn't fully trust one another, they are willing to, as a group, do what Tony did in Cagayan and Rob C. did in Amazon. Ping back and forth to secure a particular vote and then be willing to reevaluate after the dust settles. So it kind of has happened with Tony and with Rob C. But I think what's happening is now Fishback in tribal councils keeps talking about it, and Probst is starting to use the lingo, and Jeremy's even used the lingo, and it's starting to become more of, rather than occasionally it happens, Fishback is saying this is the new way to play. All right. So, okay. So having said that, next season has already aired.
Oh, I'm with you now.
Has already filmed, I should say. So it's going to be interesting to see if they try to take whatever happens in the season that's already filmed but has not aired yet and fit it into this new mold that they're talking about, and I feel like that it probably did, or they wouldn't be putting so much emphasis on it. So I think we're going to see the same gameplay happen in next season, even though it's already filmed, because they'll edit it so that it looks that way.
But can you imagine being one of those 18 or 20 people sitting at home going, oh gosh, I hope ours plays as well as this one.
I know.
They might not even show it if it was bad.
Yeah. You know what I'd be thinking?
What?
Just 2 more months till I'm in the limelight.
That's right.
That's what I'd be thinking.
Yeah, because
Survivor Talk with D&D is doing Who the Heck Are These People podcast about me.
Yeah, because Fishback said it weeks ago, we are changing how the game's played.
Yes.
And I think it's being more promoted within the season. They're letting us see, the editors letting us see it. And then they're just giving us raw fish back. But you're right, Tony did it. It's been done before, like you said, with Rob and Amazon and stuff. But it's just this season is coming with a handbook. That's what I feel like. We're getting a handbook with this season.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Pondering Ponderosa.
All right. Kelly said exactly, almost word for word, what my friend David said when I first approached him after he was voted off of Survivor Durham Warriors Survival Challenge. All right. I promise you, when I heard Kelly say this, I thought, David said that to me. We were standing right beside Kathy, and she was giving you little peanut crackers. And you said, I know I was voted out because people saw me as a threat. So, that makes me feel good. And then you went on to say, because I was going to take them all out.
But
it's a recurring theme.
And I may have said the same thing after day 24, but I would have had tears in my eyes after day 24 if I'd gotten voted out.
That's right. Oh, wow. So anyway.
I didn't think about that, but you're right.
Yeah.
It's pretty much word for word what I said.
Yeah.
And then what did you say? Yeah, you were delusional. I knew you were going 48 hours ago.
Yeah. You were gone a long time ago. So, and we discussed last week why you were gone so quickly, because you just don't know when to stop talking about Survivor.
Whatever.
All right. Kelly lost 15 pounds. I could use 2 weeks on Survivor myself.
24 days, 15 pounds.
Yeah. All right. So I want to get to, of course, we have the reception. She's well received there. And interesting, she chose a shower before she ate. But I felt like, and based on what Cass has said in her 2 previous Ponderosa videos, I felt like Cass was trying to genuinely reach out to Kelly Wigglesworth, right? And she and Savage made it sound like Cass was this jealous high school kid that was jealous of their relationship and was trying to get into it because he and Wigglesworth are so close. And I was like, dude, you are thinking way too highly of yourself. I don't think that's Cass's motivation, because Cass has already said she's at Ponderosa to be the queen of Ponderosa. She's going to talk to everybody. I don't see her looking on the outside going, oh, I wish I was part of Savage and Wigglesworth. I wish I was part of that group. Am I misreading this, David, or what?
No, it's almost like he's still playing as if he's still in the game, and he wants to stay apart from Cass. He's gone back to he's getting his. I wonder how he would have felt if it was Kelly Wentworth that was there, or Abby, because they'd be sitting with Cass. They wouldn't be sitting with Savage or Sierra.
It's almost like he gets some of his self-worth from, and I'm not trying to overanalyze him, but it's like, this makes me feel good.
Yeah, well, it makes him exactly. He's back talking to somebody that he trusted, he was aligned with, to a degree, and it was kind of weird. It was kind of like the game's over, dude. You're out of the game. Listen to what people have to. I want to hear what everybody has to say. Let them talk. Will the Giant Ninja wrote that Kelly said, "I kind of wish we could just have the challenges and have whoever doesn't leave go home. I guess whoever doesn't win go home." And he said she's talking about another game. That's called The Amazing Race.
Yeah, that's right. So we get a little bit more about Kelly. I didn't realize this, but she's really into yoga and everything also, which is why, she says, I could have beaten Joe, but, and I don't think she's just saying that either. I think she probably could have. But she said that started in Survivor Borneo. That
she was doing it wrong or something?
Yeah, that it literally, like, she decided she was going to try it while she was out on the island. I don't remember if she said somebody showed it to her or whatever. But and yoga after the fiat, there's a lot of stuff going around about Wigglesworth and how she accused CBS of stuff and all this kind of stuff. And she says that yoga helped her stay grounded in the midst of all the after Borneo madness.
Yeah.
So then we get to see her on the island doing more stuff. But anything. I got another thing from Ponderosa video. So I know I'm just kind of dominating, but I figure if you have something, then you'll say something. The rain stops either the next day or because Kelly's birthday was the following morning. So was the following day. But I'm not sure if the next video they showed us whenever it was sunny outside, if that was that day or if it was the next day. But at least within 2 days, it's not going to be raining out there anymore. So.
That's a great catch. I didn't think about that, but you're right. They're showing us the weather for the next few days.
Yeah. So did you have anything else before I ask you a very important question about Ponderosa?
One thing I wrote was that freezer full of ice cream would be empty by the time the next survivor got there.
Oh my goodness. All those drumsticks.
Even if I just ate the top, they would all be gone.
Oh, I can just, oh man. I started Weight Watchers, so I can't really
This is why we're best friends, because we would empty that freezer. So you need to refill the freezer. We just refilled it this morning. Well, it's empty again.
Yeah. Wow. Whatever weight I lost, I would gain so quickly.
Yeah, which is why they showed her out running on the beach.
Yeah.
She's losing it back again.
Yeah. All right. So, David, for whom will these 3 vote for to win of the 10 remaining? Who would they? So each one, Cass, Savage, and Wigglesworth, if they had to vote right now to win of the 10, who would they vote for?
Before I do that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, I have to read some of Tina's thoughts. She's calling me out for not reading her thoughts in the chat room.
Hey, I know what she does for a living. You better answer her.
Well, one of them is Dwayne looks good. So
what?
It must be you're bouncing around. You're standing up.
Well, they don't see that if I'm talking, because whenever you go on the air, they don't see me. I think she's talking about, I'm just so debonair.
Yeah, they don't. That's why I'm going to keep talking so people can't see that and be distracted by it. Yeah, but she wrote that Savage is a mess. She completely agrees with you about him at Ponderosa. Let's see. And this was something that Cass suggested to us. She goes, you guys ought to include who do you think these people will vote for as the jury goes along? Just throw it out there. So I think, now Tina says she's just messing with me. No, you're not. So anyway, that made me feel guilty and it worked. So right now, I would say, now this is the 3 people there voting amongst the 10 that are left.
Right.
I would say Savage is definitely Jeremy. He's a vote for Jeremy. Wigglesworth is a vote for Joe. I think Fishback was right. They're like the brother, sister, aunt, nephew thing.
Right.
And I think Cass is a vote for whoever is left between Sierra or Wentworth. I don't think she'd vote Abby.
No, I think she'd vote Wentworth.
I think she'd vote Wentworth because of the way she's playing. And I think Wentworth was going to have a greater effect on the rest of the season than Sierra. I think Sierra goes pretty soon, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I think I think you're agreeing with me. Savage is Jeremy, Wigglesworth is Joe, and Cass is Kelly Wentworth.
Yeah. See, I agree with you once you say it. I just don't like to have to think through it all and figure it out.
Well, that's why I said, that's why when you said, you're going to pick that, I said, okay, I'll do it. And then you agree or disagree with me. So,
right. That's much easier for me. Dwayne's driving predictions are probably one of the most difficult things I do every Monday or Tuesday.
I love doing them.
and then I do it. And then I start thinking about it or listening to other people's thoughts and going, crud, I wish I'd recorded it later.
Well, I did mine this week and I was so excited to do it with my friend Jim. I told him I'd give him a shout out on the podcast.
That was great, by the way. That was wonderful. And you can only watch David's if you're part of our Facebook group. Mine's on YouTube and you can see him. But David only posted on Facebook group. And you've got to watch last week's
now, did you know what movie that was from?
No, I don't know what movie.
That was from Beverly Hills Cop when Paul Reiser is in the sergeant's office and he's taking calls for Eddie Murphy to say that, he's supposed to be out there working. And then the boss comes in and says, what are you doing in my office? He goes, this is not my office. I think he does like, this is not my locker. Or something that he does. But anyway, Will the Giant Ninja, of course, is watching in the chat room. And he said, Cass will vote for Tasha, right? And no, I don't think Cass votes for Tasha.
Sarcasm.
Yes.
Wow. All right. Let's see. You know what time it is?
Time to talk about that somebody's winning. Not winning.
Right.
Oh.
We read them. iTunes reviews.
That's right. It's time for iTunes reviews. They are a wonderful way to help people find us on iTunes, and we like them. We're only 2 away from 100 reviews. Now we have 130 people that rated us, but 2 away from 100 reviews. So we have one iTunes review this week. It's from TOLV1. So Tolv or Tolv1, something. Gave us 5 stars and titled the review, "Love This Podcast." So thank you very much. And hope you are part of our Facebook group. If you are, let us know who you are so we can thank you on there too. You can read their full review and leave us your own review by going to our website, scrolling down, and clicking on our logo. And that
You write them.
is iTunes Reviews.
We read them. iTunes reviews.
Oh, just don't you hate when you see something and you think something's good, then you realize it's not?
Oh,
I'll say it's only 11:12. We're not even 2 hours in. I thought, wait a minute, we started at 9.
Yeah.
We didn't start at 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
TroyZan went 90 minutes. I thought he'd be asleep after 50.
I know.
That was so good.
Yeah. About 10 minutes in, I thought, yeah, we're not recapping the episode. We're just going to talk about it.
We could have
Which
kept
was
talking.
fine with me. I mean,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. So it was
No, that
great.
was a good call that you started naming off people. We just started talking because that covered pretty much everything.
I
they
mean,
did
we
for the
didn't name
episode.
everybody, but it's basically if there's a lull, mention someone else's name and see where the conversation goes.
That was good.
So anyway, y'all, the D&D Survivor Challenge. If you are playing with people at home or on our Facebook group, then I doubt you are. If anybody is as close as David and Andy versus me and Steve are, I will be very surprised because we are within 3 points?
Back to within 3 points.
You are 3 points ahead of me.
Gosh.
Or you and Andy. The Nerd Herd is 3 points ahead of the Cool Cats. But I want to tell you something. Jeremy got 28 points this week. He tied Kelly for the most points in an episode.
And he didn't even win a reward, but he finished with 2 idols.
2 idols.
Yeah, Kelly's had 2 28s, and one of them was last week, which got our big bump. We needed it.
Yeah.
But this week, Jeremy got the killer bump.
Yeah.
On the other hand,
Good thing
Fishback.
Oh my gosh.
Fishback with his reward win and his 5,200 confessionals got 24 points.
24
awesome.
points. Wow. So what, Tasha got me 1 point this week or something? No, 6. 6 points.
Tasha got 6. Kimmy got 8. Keith got you 1.
Yeah.
Keith.
Woo!
Poor Keith, which means he was there. But poor Keith, he had 2 lines in the whole show.
Yeah.
And I wrote this in my notes. One was, "You kids better not stay up too late."
Right.
And the other one was, "Looks like it's going to rain." And that was all he said in the whole, except that I wish I had size 16 feet or bigger feet or something.
Yeah. Now, his best line of the season is going to come next week. They showed it in Next Time On.
Oh, what was his best line?
They say Survivor's fun. A cruise is fun. This is not fun.
That's right. This is not fun. That should have been the title.
That's great.
Let's see. But it's easy to cover. Let's see. I'll do it real quick.
All right. Who else got points?
Keith got 1. Jeremy 28. This is all your side. Tasha got 6. Kimmy got 8. Joe got 15.
There you go.
Kelly on her boot episode got 6.
Mhm.
Abby Maria got 3.
Yeah.
Kelly on the Nerd Herd. Kelly got 8. Oh, Kelly. Second time was single digits. She had 6 before. Spencer picked up 6.
Yeah.
Steven carried us with 24. And Sierra still picked up 8. So my total for this week was 46. Your total was 67.
That's what I'm talking about.
And our updated totals, the Cool Cats with Dwayne and Steve have 677 points. The Nerd Herd with David and Andy still have 680 points.
Yep. All you have to do is go to our website, and there's a D&D Survivor Challenge button right in the middle. Just scroll down, you'll see it. And that's where you can get all the points. And I have every week on there.
Which we owe a big thanks again to Shayna, the great and powerful.
Yeah, the great and powerful Shayna. And last week, in case you have not gone to the website since you did scores last week, Joe got 2 more points.
Mm-hmm.
So be sure to go check that out. Also, we do thank Andy Westover for running the Facebook version of the D&D Survivor Challenge. So, David, I really don't think you and Andy can win this season.
Well, if you can lose Jeremy this week,
that ain't happening.
No, it's not.
No, that is not happening.
And I think we talked about it today. I just have this sinking feeling that I think Sierra's going to go soon. I just do, and I worry about Fishback. I worry that he's going to get in trouble for this past move. And
how do you want to do predictions next week? Are we just going to predict one, or I tell you what? Well, we'll probably know a little more by Monday or Tuesday, but I'm going to have to do my prediction on Monday.
Well, there's two because there's two titles. There's two separate titles for next week.
Well, I know, but are we going to predict two people? I mean, sure. Or three, or
yeah. The first one is a based on thought guess. The second one is a throw it out and see if it sticks guess.
Yeah.
But you can't say which is which, or maybe you can. I don't care.
Okay. Whether you watch or listen, thank you for tuning in and sharing our show with others. Thank you so much. A huge thank you to our D&D patrons who support us monthly. You can become a D&D patron for as little as the cost of your favorite drink a month. This is where I hope you drink very expensive drinks. Oh, David wasn't listening.
Absolutely.
Simply, yeah, absolutely. That's like a Sunday school answer. The Bible? Jesus?
Drink expensive drinks.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Anyway, simply click the Patreon logo on our website. You can also help finance the D&D shows when you buy Christmas presents using our Amazon links on our website and the Facebook groups. Y'all, I cannot emphasize enough that it is so simple. Just one extra click. Go to our website or go to Facebook before you go to Amazon. Don't type in Amazon in your search bar. All right? Type in stwdd.com/Amazon if you want. But really do that. It'll really help, and that'll really, 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 really help. So it's easy, and it costs you nothing. Just takes an extra click. Head on over to our website, stwdd.com, for blogs, which now includes Colton Cumbie. And somebody wrote on Twitter, no! And my thought was, well, you don't have to go read it. I mean, we're not forcing you to go to the website and read it. So, but our links to Facebook, Twitter, email, all of that is on the top left of our website. If you haven't been to our website, go look at it. It's really nice. And it's just fun to scroll. When you scroll, the pictures go, and it's really cool to watch. So
I wish we had time to do a Christmas movie podcast. We've talked about that before, but we just haven't been able to pull it together.
Who says we don't have time? I mean, like an older, we could do Elf, or we could do a Christmas Vacation. That'd be awesome.
We could get Zach and do a top 5 Christmas movies or something. I don't know.
You know what? We could get Zach, because he wants to do another one with us. We could do a movie talk with D&D around Christmas, or like before, like early December, right? And it'll be David's going, no, you're the one that's planning all these extra Durham Warrior podcasts, not me.
These are my people. I have to get them on the air.
Yeah. But we could do top 5 Christmas movies, and then we each get to pick 5, and we talk about them. Not extensively like we would, but we do a top 5 Christmas movie. You want me to ask him?
Yeah, you're breaking up. That's why I didn't hear everything, but I got the gist of what you're saying. That's exactly what you were doing. Because our draft movie podcast was one of my favorite non-Survivor podcasts. That was so much fun, where we did our picks and everything.
Yeah, that one has like 12,000 downloads. I don't know. Somebody got a hold of that one, and people started watching it. I don't know what happened.
Some computer in Indonesia or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
In fact, we'll talk about it, but I think we should do a draft, 5 favorites, but so we can't pick each other's.
So we draft again.
Yeah.
Well, there's only so many Christmas movies.
There's probably 20, so we'll do 5 each.
Yeah. And we're all gonna pick the same one. So
I know.
Oh well.
We'll talk about it.
All right. Anyway. All right. Well, that's all I got. How about you, Dave? You got anything else?
That was so much fun. Thank you, TroyZan, if you're listening at all.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any.
He's already asleep. I texted him, thank you. He said good night.
Yeah. All right, I will leave y'all with a little Shake It Off. I don't know why, but see you, everybody.
See ya.
And my haters gonna hate, baby. I'm just gonna shake it off.